Chapter 1645. Then learn more. Perform better next time, if there's a next time. Chun Zhao hurried to Marina Restaurant. Stephen arrived soon after. There were only the two of them in the room, so they spoke more casually. Soon, Chun Zhao received Yamala's call. They were already at the door. Chun Zhao and Stephen immediately stood up. They didn't have to go out to welcome them, but standing up was basic etiquette. Yamala led Kefwi Bus into the room. Miss Kefwi, welcome. Stephen warmly walked up and shook hands with Kefwi Bus. It wasn't Stephen's first time meeting Kefwi Bus. After all, they were both in the film industry. Stephen was the director and the producer. Of course, he would have connections with the theaters. Chun Zhao was a bit dazed. Kefwi Bus was also a bit distracted. He didn't expect it to be Kefwi Bus. Kefwi Bus also didn't expect to see Chun Zhao here. Hello, Miss Kefwi. Chun Zhao reacted quickly. Bus, sit down. Yamala pulled Kefwi Bus to his seat. Kefwi Bus stared at Chun Zhao. Mr. Chun, are you the producer? Yamala and Stephen raised their eyebrows. They hadn't introduced Chun Zhao yet. But Kefwi Bus called him out directly. I'm just one of the investors, Chun Zhao said. Stephen is the producer. What's your investment share? 30%, Chun Zhao answered. I want to see the final cut, Kefwi Bus said. Of course, if the cinema chains want to schedule a movie, they would first have to look at the sample before deciding how much to schedule. Of course, there was a more complicated operating system. For example, if it was produced by or distributed by the Big Six, there would also be additional screenings. Their film was distributed by RASFA's PLM, so there would also be some additional screenings. Their flaw was the producer. Chun Zhao and Stephen weren't part of the Big Six. Even if Stephen was a god now, it didn't mean he could do whatever he wanted. When filming the movie, many of the actors were related to the Big Six. This was the sharing of benefits. Even so, their film would still be suppressed by the Big Six. For example, there were two movies released at the same time as them that were produced by the Big Six. These two movies were deliberately used by the Big Six to snipe Stephen's movies. However, these two movies could only take up a little of their movie slots. It was also impossible for the Big Six to use a movie made by a beyond grade A movie to attack Stephen's new movie, because the risk was too great. After all, Stephen was in the limelight. If his new movie did well in the box office, it would mean that other movies would become cannon fodder. This kind of sniping was also risky, so the Big Six were very careful. Kefwi Base's gaze was focused on Chun Zhao. Mr. Chun, how long has it been? Chun Zhao scratched his nose. A few months. Mr. Chun, if you had told me 3 months ago, I would have given 80% of the screen space to your movie. But now, our Bath Group has already signed contracts with a few other movies. We have a guaranteed minimum number of screenings. Thank you. Chun Zhao had no idea that Kefwi Base was in the theater business. Of course, even if he knew, he didn't want to use their past relationship, because he didn't think he was friends with Kefwi Base. Stephen and Amira were surprised. From Kefwi Base tone, it seemed that they had a close relationship. Base, you and Chun Zhao already know each other? Amira asked. Yes. Kefwi Base nodded. She looked at Chun Zhao with undisguised passion. If I want to start a new relationship, he'll be my first choice. Stephen and Amira looked at each other. They didn't think that Kefwi Base would say something like this in public. Unfortunately, Chun Zhao doesn't want to develop this relationship with me. Kefwi Base laughed self-mockingly. To be honest, Chun Zhao couldn't handle such a straightforward relationship. Mr. Stephen, if there's no problem, send the final cut sample to my company tomorrow. As long as there's no problem, I'll give you the best split. Ms. Kefwi, personal feelings are personal. Business is business. Call me Base. Kefwi Base looked at Chun Zhao. People were like this. The more they couldn't have, the more they wanted. Because of his family, Chun Zhao refused to have any further contact with her. Then, he thought of his failed marriage. Kefwi Base's feelings for Chun Zhao grew even stronger. Unfortunately, Chun Zhao really didn't have any feelings for her. Actually, Kefwi Base and Amira were the same type of people. They wouldn't let their emotions get to their heads. Back when Kefwi Base had dealt with her ex-husband, Oni, Chun Zhao had been very cold. Her methods were cold and didn't hesitate at all. But no matter how calm a woman was, she would still be impulsive sometimes. Chun, let's go for a walk, Kefwi Base invited. Chun, you go. I also have some personal matters to discuss with Ms. Amira. Stephen betrayed Chun Zhao decisively. To him, Chun Zhao could only benefit from having a deep conversation with Kefwi Base. Chun Zhao looked at Amira, who also waved her hand. Goodbye. Oh, send Base home for me. Chun Zhao could only bring Kefwi Base out of the restaurant. The night breeze from the coastline was slightly chilly. Kefwi Base didn't speak, so Chun Zhao didn't speak either. Chun, do you love her a lot? Yes. Can this love last forever? Chun Zhao felt a headache when he heard these romantic words. Chun Zhao thought for a moment and answered, maybe family is more than love. You won't get tired of her? Even if I get tired of her one day, we won't have love. I really envy that woman. Why can she get happiness while I can only meet those disgusting men? We'll be friends. Chun Zhao could only say this. Give me a hug. Chun Zhao bent down and hugged Kefwi Base. I need a warm hug. Chun Zhao felt like his head was about to explode. What warm hug? Thank you. Chun Zhao felt his ear get bitten. Chun Zhao didn't like making feelings so complicated. If he liked her, he liked her. If he didn't like her, he didn't like her. Chun Zhao didn't have any feelings for Kefwi Base. He definitely wouldn't give up on Fei Lai for Kefwi Base. Even if Chun Zhao slept with her now, they could only be *S**X. What Kefwi Base really needed was feelings. Chun Zhao couldn't give her that either. I'll send you home. Please remember this book's domain name. 9 Heavens Divine King. Chapter 1646. Hey, are you rolling the sheets with Kefwi Bath right now? No, I'm on my way home. Chun Zhao didn't plan on being entangled with Kefwi Base. This relationship was too troublesome. Plus, Chun Zhao believed that after some time, she would have her own feelings. There was no need to be entangled with her. Puffed. What a pity. If you can develop a deeper relationship with her, we won't have to worry about showtimes when our movies are released. I don't plan on entering Hollywood. With Chun Zhao's capital, it would be good if he occasionally invested in 1 or 2 movies. He wouldn't be able to make it big in Hollywood. Each of the big 6 had a media empire behind them. Even if Chun Zhao invested all his money, he would only be a small fry. Plus, the total profit of the big 6 might not be much. Hollywood's total box office in North America last year was only $12 billion. How many of those movies lost money? Hollywood's biggest profit wasn't the box office either. The cake was only so big. If Chun Zhao went in and snatched food from the tiger's mouth. Actually, Stephen was just joking. Even he could only make 1 movie with Chun Zhao and Rasfa. No matter if the movie's box office was successful or not, Stephen wouldn't make any more foreign movies. It wasn't that Stephen didn't want to work with Chun Zhao. It was because he had no choice. Hollywood's internal power was deeply rooted. No one could shake it. When Chun Zhao returned home, it was already very late. After changing, he lay on the bed and asked softly, "Are you asleep?" "I'm back." Fei Lai's arms were already around Chun Zhao's neck. "Hey, Belial, are you still there?" Chun Zhao asked. "I'm here. Are you going to start acting again?" "In the morning, Fei Lai. I'm going to New Orleans in a few days." "How many days?" Fei Lai drank a glass of milk. "I'm not sure." "Okay, go early and come back early." Just then, the housekeeper spoke. "Master, Ms. Alex is calling. Would you like to connect now?" "Connect," Chun Zhao said. "Hey, Chun, what is it? You said last time that you needed an assistant. One will come for an interview today." "Okay, what time is your appointment?" 10 in the morning at my office." Chun Zhao looked at the time. It was already past 8, just in time to go to Alex's law firm. "I'll go out now." Fei Lai helped Chun Zhao tidy up his clothes. Only then did Chun Zhao leave slowly. Basamai was wearing thick glasses and sitting in a conference room. The coffee in front of her had already gone cold. In front of her was a thick stack of papers. Bo Simi looked at the time from time to time. The interview was supposed to be at 10 o'clock, but now half an hour had passed. Bohemia kind of wants to go. After some hesitation, Bohemia stood up and walked out of the conference room. She went to Alex's office and knocked on the door. "Come in." Bohemia pushed the door open and entered. "Miss Alex, if it's not convenient today, we can make another appointment." In fact, when Bo Simi saw the recruitment advertisement, she thought that Alex was looking for an assistant. But when she arrived, she heard from Alex that her boss was looking for a personal assistant. Bo Simi used to be a personal assistant, and it wasn't a pleasant experience. Therefore, Bo Simi instinctively wanted to refuse. However, she was already here, and she was an introverted person, so she was too embarrassed to leave. Now it was already past time. She wanted to use this opportunity to refuse. Alex glanced at the time. Wait a moment. With that, Alex picked up the phone. Hey, Chun, when are you coming? It's already past half an hour. Sorry, there's a traffic jam. When are you coming? Aren't I already here? Chun Zhao pushed open the door and walked in with the phone. Annoyed, Alex put down the phone. Chun Zhao turned his head and looked at Bo Simi. Is this lady here to hire my personal assistant? Yes, that's her. Alex nodded. She has a lot of work experience and a good education. She's more than qualified to be your personal assistant. Alex, lend me your office for a while. Alex left her office. Chun Zhao sat in Alex's seat. Please sit. How should I address you? Hi, I'm Bo Simi Pam. Okay, Pam. Chun Zhao nodded. Bo Simi was not used to Chun Zhao calling her by her last name. However, her introverted personality prevented her from correcting him directly. Can you show me your information? Oh, okay. Bo Simi immediately handed her documents to Chun Zhao. Then she placed the documents she'd brought before Chun Zhao. This is my degree certificate. This is the evaluation report from my previous company. I know 4 foreign languages, including French, German, Russian, and Japanese. Bo Simi secretly regretted it. She was someone who did not know how to refuse at all. As soon as Chun Zhao opened his mouth, she started to introduce herself. She completely forgot about her intention to refuse. What's your salary requirement? Bo Simi took a deep breath and said, the higher, the better. Refuse, refuse, refuse. Bo Simi chanted in her heart. Is $10,000 a month enough? Hearing that, Bo Simi's eyes immediately widened. After all, personal assistants usually did not earn more than $5,000 a month. Even the highest salary she'd had in the past was no more than $1,500 a week. Before Bo Simi could refuse, Chun Zhao asked, You're from New Orleans? Yes. I'm going to New Orleans in 2 days. You can be my tour guide. Chun Zhao felt that his offer was high enough. Bo Simi had no reason to refuse. Actually, Bo Simi was indeed hesitant. Chun Zhao's offer was indeed very attractive. However, she instinctively disliked the job of a personal assistant. If you're going to refuse, please be more direct, Chun Zhao said impatiently when Bo Simi did not speak. No, I know. Then you accepted the job, right? Yes, I think so. Portia immediately regretted her answer. All right, Alex, you can come in. Alex walked in. How'd it go? I've decided, Chun Zhao said. Help me draft a contract. A while later, a freshly drafted contract was placed before Bo Simi. Bo Simi signed it helplessly. She was not sure if she was forced to accept the job or if she was sincere. Bookmark for easier reading. Chapter 1647. In the first-class cabin, Chun Zhao turned to look at Portia. Pam, are you unhappy? No. Portia shook her head. After a while, Portia couldn't help but ask, Boss, if I resign now, will you be angry? No, of course not. Chun Zhao smiled. I'm a very generous person. Other than using my connections to make sure you never find a job, I won't do anything overboard, Chun Zhao said in a gentle tone. By the way, do you want to resign? Chun Zhao asked gently. No, I'm just asking. Portia turned to look at the white clouds outside the window. On the first day of work, Chun Zhao brought her home. Portia knew one thing. Chun Zhao was very rich. How rich was he? The kind that could make her disappear from the face of the earth. Of course, wasn't completely without benefits. At least she got a month's salary in advance so that she could pay her rent first. At the same time, he sold his second-hand truck to her at a low price. This allowed her to solve the transportation problem. Portia ignored Chun Zhao. She picked up an actor's training and started reading. With her education background, it wasn't hard for her to find a job. However, She'd gone to Los Angeles because it was close to Hollywood. Of course, she hadn't gotten a single role yet. Not even Passerby had. Suddenly, Chun Zhao closed Portia's book. "Boss, what are you doing?" "I'm bored. Chatting with me." "My job doesn't include chatting." "No, it does." Chun Zhao waved his finger. "It doesn't. You can call Alex and have her read the contract for you." Portia took a deep breath and calmed her anger. "I really hope the plane falls and this asterisk shoal falls to his death." Rumble. The plane seemed to have encountered turbulence and shook. Encountering turbulence wasn't something that people liked. The vibration was very uncomfortable. Of course, it was unavoidable for commercial flights to encounter turbulence at high altitudes. Just then, the turbulence shook again. This time, it was stronger than last time. All the passengers felt weightless. Just then, Portia saw a spark explode from the left engine. Then, the vibration of the plane became more obvious. Portia screamed. The engine is on fire." Chun Zhao turned his head. "I think a bird crashed into the engine." This was indeed the case. Chun Zhao did feel it, but Chun Zhao couldn't stop it. The plane began to shake. Because the speed of the aircraft engine was very fast, if a flying bird were to hit the engine, it would bring about an imbalance of several tons of inertia, which could instantly cause devastating damage to the engine. At this time, many passengers who had pulled over saw that the engine was on fire. The entire cabin was in a state of panic. "We're dead. We're dead." Not only Portia, but all the passengers were also panicking. Chun Zhao was helpless. He couldn't save everyone. However, the plane had not yet lost control and was still flying in a relatively stable manner. The captain had already informed them that they would be docking at the nearest Houston airport. A loss of power in an aircraft engine does not necessarily mean that it will crash. The vibration of the plane continued. However, the flight crew was doing their best to control the plane to maintain flight. Someone in the cabin was crying. "Pam, shouldn't you be riding your will now?" Chun Zhao asked with a smile. Portia was not in the mood to argue with Chun Zhao. Her face was pale from fear. Someone was really writing a will. This kind of despair was very contagious. The entire cabin was filled with the smell of death. Portia also started writing her will. Chun Zhao looked at Portia. "You should write it on your phone. If the plane crashes, there might be an explosion that will destroy the paper," Chun Zhao said mischievously. "Also, the phone I gave you is a satellite phone. You can say goodbye to your family and friends now." Portia started crying. The more Chun Zhao said sarcastically, the more panicked and desperate she became. Crying was also contagious. The entire cabin was crying. Even the flight attendants, who had been barely able to calm down, were crying. But the plane still landed safely at Houston Airport. In the end, all the passengers landed safely on the air mattresses. When they stepped on the ground, the solid feeling made them feel like they had been reborn. Portia looked at Chun Zhao, who was fixing his hair. She recalled that Chun Zhao didn't seem to have any negative emotions before. From the beginning until now, apart from his bad words and actions, he didn't show any panic or despair. Portia gritted her teeth at Chun Zhao. "Weren't you scared just now? I heard your curse just now, so I think this accident happened because of you." Chun Zhao looked at Portia and said calmly. Portia gritted her teeth in anger. The two walked out of the airport. "Let's go rent a car," Chun Zhao said. There would usually be a car rental company at the airport in America. Portia hadn't completely calmed down yet. "Can I?" "No," Chun Zhao reminded. "Don't forget that you still owe me money." 10 minutes later, Portia drove a car to Chun Zhao. Portia was already very tired. Houston wasn't that close to New Orleans. It was close to 600 kilometers. It would take at least 6 hours to drive. "Boss, I'm very tired. Can you drive?" "I'll drive for a while. You could drive in the middle." Chun Zhao finally said something reasonable. But even if Chun Zhao drove, it didn't mean that Portia could rest. Chun Zhao chattered nonstop. Every time Portia closed her eyes, Chun Zhao would wake her up. "Boss, can you let me rest for a while? I'm very bored," Chun Zhao said confidently. "You're my personal assistant," Chun Zhao said confidently. "You should help me solve my boredom. You must have professional ethics." But Portia was really tired. She just experienced a plane accident. She was mentally and physically exhausted. "Hey, wake up," Portia woke up again. Is it my turn to drive? We're in New Orleans. Where's the hotel you booked? Chun Zhao asked. We're in New Orleans already. Portia looked out the window. It was already night. Portia rubbed her eyes. Suddenly, she jumped up. Oh no, I forgot to book a hotel. Book it now, Chun Zhao said calmly. If you forget again, I'll deduct your salary. Please remember this book's domain name. 9 Heavens God King. Chapter 1648. Boss, how many days? Make a reservation for 3 days, Chun Zhao said. What level? I want the best room. It wasn't peak season, so there were still empty rooms even without a reservation. If it was peak season, they'd probably have to stay in a motel. Portia booked the best room for Chun Zhao and a regular room for herself. She gave the waiter $10, and the waiter quickly sent their luggage to the room. Portia really needed a good night's sleep. After arranging the luggage, Chun Zhao left the hotel. Chun Zhao just wandered around aimlessly. He had no destination. On one hand, he was unfamiliar with New Orleans. Also, he wanted to try his luck outside. He hoped to encounter some spiritualists or supernatural events. The chances of encountering supernatural incidents at night were quite high. Plus, Chun Zhao's small world already covered 300 meters. It was like searching for a needle in a haystack. But it wasn't completely random. Chun Zhao didn't encounter any supernatural events or spiritualists. Instead, he was targeted by 2 hoodlums. New Orleans had always had one of the highest crime rates. There was a gang here that made people tremble with fear. The New Orleans gang was also called Marchino Gang. Their boss was called Marchino. In the previous city, this immigrant city was controlled by this gang. Even now, the darkness in the city couldn't be eradicated. Of course, like most gangs, they had moved from being open and above board to hiding in the shadows. However, at night, the city would be filled with criminals. More than 100 police officers died in the line of duty in this city every year. Being a police officer here was the most dangerous job in America. There were black radical organizations and the infamous 3K party here. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that this was the darkest city in America. The 2 people following Chun Zhao were 2 men in hoodies. They'd been following Chun Zhao since he left the Hilton Hotel. When they realized that Chun Zhao was Asian, they followed him. Chun Zhao didn't care. As long as they didn't attack first, Chun Zhao would pretend that they didn't exist. Of course, they didn't attack because it wasn't too late. Plus, there were some people nearby. It wasn't convenient for them to attack. Both of them had daggers in their pockets. He probably wasn't newbie. Moreover, they were very experienced and patient. If it were a normal newbie, they would have attacked the prey immediately. Why would he follow this path? Chun Zhao finally reached a place with no one around. The 2 behind him immediately quickened their pace. For Sam and Vicari, tonight was their harvest night. They followed their prey from the Hilton Hotel. Those who could afford to stay in the Hilton Hotel must be rich. Even the cheapest room in the Hilton Hotel cost $200 per night. Moreover, they had been observing for a long time. He didn't see any brand on the prey's clothes. However, the fabric of the clothes was definitely of high quality. After waiting for a long time, the Asian finally walked to a place where there was no one. The 2 of them quickened their pace to catch up. Sam quickly ran to Chun Zhao and blocked his way. Vicari, on the other hand, blocked Chun Zhao's escape route. Kid, hand over the money. Sam waved his butterfly knife in front of Chun Zhao. Do you have cigarettes? He asked. What? Sam felt that his aura was a bit weak. He immediately yelled fiercely, Kid, do you know what's going on? It's a robbery. If you know what's good for you, take out your wallet. Chun Zhao took out his wallet and took out a stack of new bills. Is this what you want? Under the dim streetlight, Sam and Vicari could still see the bills in Chun Zhao's hand clearly. It was at least $2,000. We're rich. Both of them couldn't help but lick their lips. Chun Zhao waved his hand and the bills rained down. You? Sam and Vicari were both stunned. They didn't understand Chun Zhao's intentions. Kid, looks like you're itching for a beating, Sam yelled angrily. Vicari, teach him a lesson. Right now, all Sam could see was the bills on the ground. Ouch! Vicari's pained howl woke him up. He saw Vicari covering his nose. Blood seeped out of his fingers. Die! Sam charged at Chun Zhao with his butterfly knife. Ouch! Sam was punched in the face. Just like Vicari, his nose was bleeding and he'd lost a few teeth. Sam still wanted to struggle, but Chun Zhao punched him again. Ah! Sam's fingers were under Chun Zhao's foot. Help me pick up the money. Ah! Okay. I'll pick it up. Let go. Sam and Vicari wanted to cry, but no tears came out. They'd done a dozen robberies before. They'd never seen someone so cruel. Chun Zhao didn't kill the two hooligans. It wasn't worth it. When they attacked him just now, they used knives, but they didn't want to kill him. Chun Zhao guessed that it was their first time using knives. In the past, the people they'd robbed were terrified when they saw their knives. Sam and Vicari endured the pain and picked up all the money. They wanted to take the money and run, but they were worried that their friends would fall into Chun Zhao's hands. Chun Zhao took out 200 bills and stuffed them into Sam's pockets. Consider it your payment. Do you have cigarettes? Sam covered his nose and took out a pack of cigarettes that was half full. Where can I eat? My treat. Sam and Vicari glanced at each other. They'd both been in the gang for a few years. They couldn't guess Chun Zhao's identity. However, Chun Zhao clearly had their intentions. Otherwise, he wouldn't waste time with them here. Sir, is there anything I can do for you? No rush, Chun Zhao said casually. Let's find a place to sit. The two made up their minds. As long as they weren't hired as informants, everything was fine. Everyone in the gang knew that being an informant was the most dangerous. The two brought Chun Zhao into a 24-hour restaurant. The bearded man standing at the cashier had a gun hidden under the cabinet. When he saw the three enter, he was very cautious. He didn't heave a sigh of relief until Chun Zhao slapped 2 big bills on the cashier. By the way, are there any places in New Orleans that are rumored to be haunted? Sir, why do you want to know? I'm just curious, Chun Zhao said casually, leaning against the chair. Just then, the bearded man walked over with hamburgers, sandwiches, and drinks. I do know, Big Beardy interrupted. Uncle, sit. Chun Zhao pulled out a chair. Chapter 1649. Big Beard was the owner of the restaurant. It was open every night. However, there would always be 1 or 2 robberies every month. That wasn't a high number. In fact, Big Beard had even been robbed 7 days in a week. Of course, there were successful robberies and failed robberies. Most of the time, Big Beard would take out the gun he hid under the cashier and the robbers would run away. Big Beardy could tell where Vicari and Sam were from just by looking at them. But Chun Zhao couldn't tell. Judging from Chun Zhao's clothes, he should be rich. He just didn't understand why he would hang out with people like Sam and Vicari. But they didn't have the intention to rob. Big Beard wasn't as vigilant as before. After Chun Zhao's invitation, he sat down and started chatting with Chun Zhao. There used to be a toll station on the Sibruk Coast Highway, but it's long been closed and abandoned, Big Beard said. Drivers passing by often see people at the abandoned toll station. I've seen them before too. I know, Sam immediately interrupted. Sam immediately interrupted and said, it said that more than 20 years ago, there was a tragic car accident at the toll booth on that highway. At that time, there were more than a dozen cars queuing at the toll booth. In the end, a tanker full of fuel was loaded directly into the toll booth. As a result, the staff at the toll booth and more than a dozen waiting cars were all set on fire. More than 30 people died. Yes, Sam said. The toll station was demolished not long after, but a stop at the edge of the highway has been kept. The government says it's to commemorate the victims of the accident. The bearded man said, but there are also rumors that the place is haunted. Every time the construction team tries to demolish it, they encounter an accident, so they never touch the station entrance again. The road has been diverted for a few hundred meters, but the passing vehicles can still see the station entrance. I once passed by that road and saw a figure at the roadside station. Apparently, they're the victims at the toll station. They don't know they're dead, so they keep wandering there. Everyone's interest was piqued, and they began to speak one after another about the paranormal incidents that they had either heard about or experienced personally. Of course, with Chun Zhao's knowledge, he could tell that most of it was fake, but there were a few that he couldn't tell if they were real or fake. For example, he couldn't find any flaws in the toll station, but he couldn't tell if it was real or fake before he confirmed it himself. After all, it wasn't difficult to fabricate a more realistic supernatural event. Boss, it's been a pleasure chatting with you. Picking up a burger, Chun Zhao stood up and stuffed a $100 bill into Beardy's hand. At the same time, he called out to Sam and Vicari, "Let's go. Sir, if you come again tomorrow night, I will continue to tell you stories." The bearded man was very happy. Not only did he kill time, but he also earned tips. Sam and Vicari were cautious as they left the restaurant. Actually, at this time, they wanted to escape. But since Chun Zhao didn't want to let them go, there was nothing they could do. "Do you have cars?" Chun Zhao asked. Both Sam and Vicari wanted to say no. As a matter of fact, they had a small old car. "I'll stay in New Orleans for a while. I wanted to hire you for $500 a day, but since you don't have a car, forget it." With that, he turned to leave. "Okay, I'm leaving. Bye." The two immediately caught up. "Yes, we have a car. We have a car." What a joke. The two of them robbed for a few days, but they still couldn't get $500. Usually, each successful robbery would only get a few $100s. Sometimes it was even less. They could make do with this bit of money for a few days. Then, when they ran out of money, they would rob again. This was basically their daily life. They didn't succeed every time. Now, Chun Zhao was going to hire them. Plus, it was $500 a day. This one was much easier than robbing others. It was also much less risky. "Sir, what do you want us to do?" "I want to go to the locations of the supernatural events you mentioned." Sam and Vicari exchanged glances. What exactly did this rich guy want to do? But it wasn't hard at all. They thought that Chun Zhao wanted them to do something risky. They didn't expect this. They already thought that Chun Zhao was a rich guy looking for excitement. That was all. What did they have to hesitate about? Soon, Sam and Vicari got into the car with Chun Zhao. The first place they went was the Seabrook Coastal Highway. After half an hour, they reached their destination. Sam parked the car by the side of the road and looked at a sentry box dozens of meters away. That's the original toll station. Chun Zhao sat in the car and looked at the abandoned toll station in the distance. As expected, there was an unusual aura. "Sir, do you want to go take a look?" "No need," Chun Zhao said. "Let's go to the next place." With Chun Zhao's eyesight, he could tell at a glance if there were any supernatural events or not. There was an unusual aura here that couldn't escape Chun Zhao's eyes. Sam and Vicari didn't know what Chun Zhao was planning. But now that Chun Zhao was their employer, they naturally listened to him. Then, the two drove and took Chun Zhao to many places. There were about a third of the places with real supernatural events. "Is there any place you haven't been to?" "Sir, we've been to all of them," Sam and Vicari said. "By the way, I remember a few days ago, one of our friends said that something happened to his girlfriend's family. His girlfriend's entire family went crazy, except for his girlfriend who was with him at the time. The police reported that they accidentally ate hallucinogenic and poisonous food. However, his girlfriend doesn't seem to be normal these days. She doesn't dare to go home recently. Do you know where she lives?" "Yes." "Then let's go take a look." Half an hour later, the car stopped outside a house in a community. There was a dim light in the house, and the curtains were drawn. "That's weird. Is there someone living here? Could it be Bonka's girlfriend who came home? Didn't I hear that his girlfriend has been staying with him recently?" Chun Zhao could feel that there were two evil spirits in the house. They were very fierce ones. Also, what Sam and Vicari saw wasn't light. It was real will-o'-the-wisp. But Chun Zhao didn't plan on subduing them for now. Anyway, there was no one living in the house. "I'll give you a mission," Chun Zhao said. "Sam, from tomorrow onwards, wait outside the house and see if anyone comes in. If a stranger enters or leaves, remember to follow that person. Vicari, go to the Seabrook toll station and keep watch. It's the same. Here's $1,000 for today's work. Send me back to the hotel now. Please remember this book's domain name, Nine Heavens Divine Emperor." Chapter 1650. Sam and Vicari were dumbfounded. What kind of mission was this? They didn't understand at all. However, this $1,000 was the real deal. They couldn't find a reason to reject it. Plus, it wasn't a risky mission. At least, that was what they thought. When they reached the hotel, Chun Zhao looked back at the two people in the car. "Let's get a better car tomorrow." It's so uncomfortable. Sam and Vakari were helpless. They didn't have the money to get a better car. Unless they used all the money Chen Zhao gave them to buy a new car, they would probably be able to meet Chen Zhao's requirements. Sam, what do you think that guy does? Who cares? He has money anyway. Sam couldn't be bothered to think that much. He thought that Chen Zhao was just a rich person looking for fun. The next day, Portia felt extremely comfortable. She'd slept so well. But after checking the time, she was so scared that she scrambled up to wash up. It was already 9 in the morning. She'd slept for more than 10 hours. Chen Zhao's temper wasn't good. Portia hurried to Chen Zhao's room. Chen Zhao's door was open. 2 waiters were pushing a dining cart, preparing breakfast for him. Portia entered the room and saw that Chen Zhao was doing his morning exercise. Breakfast is ready. Please enjoy. After Portia tipped them, the 2 waiters bowed and left. Portia thought to herself as she looked at the prepared breakfast. This guy's even so extravagant for breakfast. This breakfast alone cost more than $1,000. Portia glanced at Chen Zhao, who was still running on the treadmill. She secretly picked up an egg roll and stuffed it in her mouth. But before she could swallow, she realized that Chen Zhao was already standing before her. Cough, cough. Portia almost choked to death. Sit down and eat together, Chen Zhao said calmly. No need to sneak around. Then he went into the bathroom to wash up. Portia's face was bright red. She didn't know whether to sit or stand. After a while, Chen Zhao walked out of the bathroom. Portia's eyes widened when she saw Chen Zhao's figure. She couldn't help but swallow. She didn't expect this guy to have such a good figure. You're not eating? Chen Zhao sat on the sofa. Portia wanted to eat. The food here was all high-end, but she was a bit shy. Sit down and eat. After Chen Zhao spoke for the second time, Portia finally sat down to eat breakfast. Boss, do you have any plans for today? Just walking around. Do you have any recommendations? Chen Zhao asked. New Orleans Art Gallery. Want to go? No. Chen Zhao rejected immediately. I don't have any artistic talent, so I can't pretend. Mr. Chen, do you want to see the longest bridge in the world, Lake Pontchartrain Bridge? Sure. The Lake Pontchartrain Bridge consists of 2 parallel bridges spanning Lake Pontchartrain, with a total length of 422 kilometers. The second bridge is 16 meters longer than the first. And this project was completed in 1969 last century. In one section of the Pontchartrain Bridge, there is an artificial island, a holiday resort for tourists. When you're full, help me choose a set of clothes. Boss, I'm not your servant. You need to ask Alex about the job of a personal assistant. All right. Portia was helpless. After getting dressed, he said, drive the car to the hotel entrance. Portia's lips twitched. Instinctively, she wanted to reject him. But after considering the situation, she gave up on the idea. She was already subconsciously following Chen Zhao's orders. Portia was obviously driving today. She was countless times more familiar with New Orleans than Chen Zhao. Boss, what business do you have in New Orleans this time? Do I need to prepare anything? Nothing. You don't need to worry about that. Portia was speechless. Her expertise was completely useless against Chen Zhao. She was almost reduced to Chen Zhao's servant. No, not almost. She was already reduced. But when the car reached the entrance of the Lake Pontchartrain Bridge, it was stopped. What's going on? Chen Zhao asked. I don't know. Portia shook her head. There was a checkpoint ahead. It was set up by the military. Chen Zhao and Portia got out of the car and looked ahead. Just then, Chen Zhao saw a familiar-looking person. Demi Sonnenfeld. She seemed to be in charge here. She also saw Chen Zhao. She had a huge grudge against Chen Zhao. Back then, Demi's father, Sonnenfeld, had gone bankrupt because of Chen Zhao. Then, Chen Zhao had killed her commanding officer, Lieutenant Paul, in the Las Vegas desert. Chen Zhao had been very careful and didn't leave any evidence. However, Demi's hatred for Chen Zhao wouldn't disappear just because there was no evidence. Demi walked toward Chen Zhao. Why are you here? The disgust and hatred in Demi's eyes couldn't be hidden at all. Puffed. Looks like you got promoted. Did you replace Paul's position? Chen Zhao looked at Demi with a smile. I know you did it. Don't think I don't know. Lieutenant Paul's death is definitely related to you. Demi looked at Chen Zhao, gritting her teeth. How's your father? Chen Zhao asked, smiling. Demi exploded. Her father had gone bankrupt and owed tens of millions of dollars to the bank. Although Demi had brought him home now, her father had always been depressed. However, her father had always been depressed. He drank alcohol every day and was dispirited. Demi really wanted to pull out her gun, but she controlled her anger in the end. One day, I'll kill you legitimately. Demi gritted her teeth. Then I'll kill you right away. Chen Zhao scoffed at Demi's threat. On the other hand, Portia broke out in a cold sweat. Chen Zhao had a huge grudge against this military officer. Would he make things difficult for them? Ms. Demi, can you tell me what happened? It's none of your business, Demi snorted. It's fine if you don't tell me, Chen Zhao said calmly. You have your own way to find out anyway. Then go find your way. Everything here is a military secret. If you keep asking, I can arrest you for endangering public safety and spying. Please don't scare me. Otherwise, my lawyer team might go to the Department of National Defense. The most annoying group of people in the world was definitely lawyers. Especially the lawyers in the United States. They were definitely existences that could go against the heavens, the earth, and the air. They dared to sue the government, the military, and even the United Nations. There was nothing they didn't dare to go against. They were a bunch of mad dogs. Unfortunately, Chen Zhao had a bunch of mad dogs like that. Demi didn't have a legitimate reason to arrest him. Even if it was a legitimate arrest, Chen Zhao could guarantee that Demi would lose her military position. Chapter 1651. Actually, Demi was just trying to scare him. She knew that she couldn't do anything to Chen Zhao for now. Unfortunately, Chen Zhao's temper was too terrible. He wasn't even willing to suffer a loss with his words. Chen Zhao patted Demi's shoulder without hesitation. Your father's already gone bankrupt. If you lose your job, I think your father's creditors will pounce on you like mad dogs and tear your father apart. So, you better think carefully before you speak. Demi's expression turned even uglier. Now that she had a military position, she could barely protect her father. If she lost her commission, her father would probably be sued by his creditors and thrown into prison. If someone interfered, her father might not be able to get out of prison alive. Demi's eyes were filled with murderous intent, but she really couldn't do anything now. If he didn't have a proper name, his words wouldn't be justified. If she couldn't do anything to Chen Zhao, she might even get herself into trouble. In Portia's eyes, Chen Zhao was definitely an evil rich man. However, Chen Zhao could only chat with Demi here. Demi would never let him go just because of his threat. The bridge of Lake Pontchartrain was uncrossable. Demi wasn't just targeting Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao could only ask Portia to turn the car around. Boss, where to now? Portia kept thinking about Demi's words. Demi said that Chen Zhao had killed an officer. This gave her goosebumps. She didn't know what Chen Zhao did. The only thing she knew about him was that he was rich. He was very rich. Now, she felt that Chen Zhao's money might have come from a legal source. Her fear of Chen Zhao grew deeper and deeper. But now she was in a difficult position. As long as Chen Zhao didn't agree to her resignation, she couldn't leave. She was even more afraid to speak. She was worried that she had angered him. Chen Zhao threatened her family. Anyway, Portia was just scaring herself. The more he thought about it, the more afraid he became. Find a restaurant, Chen Zhao said. Boss, they've only been out for an hour, and you seem to have eaten a lot for breakfast. Breakfast? How could that be called breakfast? That wasn't even enough to fill Chen Zhao's teeth. If Chen Zhao really ate to his heart's content, he could probably empty the entire hotel. However, the energy efficiency of food was still too low for him. Chen Zhao still couldn't completely separate himself from the 5 grains. He could not eat the wind and drink the dew. However, not eating or drinking for more than 10 days was nothing to him. Of course, even though Chen Zhao was close to fasting. However, Chen Zhao's appetite was still much larger than a regular person's. Chen Zhao could already use his immortal power to ensure that he was never hungry. However, there were some trace elements that the human body needed that could not be provided by immortal energy. To put it bluntly, Chen Zhao didn't eat to eat now, but to replenish his micronutrients. Therefore, Chen Zhao's food combinations for each meal were very rich. I'm hungry, he answered matter-of-factly. Fine, you're the boss. You have the final say. But this time, he only told Portia to find a normal restaurant. Not those high-end restaurants that cost thousands of dollars for a meal. An hour later, Portia sat across from him. Chun Zhao was still wolfing down his food. How much did Chun Zhao eat? 10 servings of pasta, 20 servings of pepper scallops, 5 lobsters, and 20 prawns. There were also 20 steaks and 5 roasted chickens. Portia had never seen someone with such a huge appetite. Just how many people's portions did he eat? 10 people? Or 20 people? Those who did not know would think that he was a beggar who hadn't eaten for a few days. Chun Zhao did not care about other people's opinions. He could eat however he wanted. You eat some too, Chun Zhao said in the midst of his busy schedule. Thanks, but it's okay. Portia forced a smile. Okay, tell the waiter to give me 20 medium rare steaks. This restaurant's steaks are as good as the chef's. Oh, I saw that there's roasted lamb leg on the menu. Give me 2. Boss, can you finish it? I never waste food, Chun Zhao said. After midnight, Chun Zhao walked out of the restaurant satisfied. Portia followed behind him. Boss, you just ate a total of $2,380. Okay, got it. Chun Zhao nodded. This restaurant is still worth it. If we went to a high-end restaurant, this meal would cost at least tens of thousands. Spending $2,380 for a meal? Was that worth it? But thinking about the amount he'd just eaten, it was indeed worth it. Sis, a slightly childish voice said. Chun Zhao turned his head and saw a boy around 18 or 19 years old. Portia was stunned for a moment. Billy, why are you here? I'm working part-time at this restaurant. Billy looked at Portia and then at Chun Zhao. Sis, when did you come back to New Orleans? Also, who is he? Your boyfriend? No, he's my boss, Portia quickly explained. I'm working now. I'll go visit you guys when I'm free. Okay. Billy still had some baby fat on his face, but he was even taller than Chun Zhao. Chun Zhao did not know what these foreigners ate to be so tall at such a young age. Billy walked up to Chun Zhao. Don't bully my sister, or I'll teach you a lesson. Portia, come to my room tonight. I have something I need you to deal with. Ah, Billy's face darkened. Chun Zhao smiled faintly. If you continue to threaten me, your sister's job will be very difficult. Kid, don't trouble your sister with your immature way of thinking. Billy's face darkened. Billy's face turned red, and he stared at Chun Zhao hatefully. Sis, don't work for him anymore. Billy, don't mind my business. Portia did not want Billy to get involved. Chun Zhao was clearly not a good person. If Billy angered him, the consequences would be unimaginable. Billy's face turned green as he watched Chun Zhao and his sister leave. He also felt that Chun Zhao was not a good person. If his sister worked for him, she might encounter indescribable trouble. No, he had to think of something. Boss, Billy's just a kid. Don't lower yourself to his level. Of course not, Chun Zhao replied, smiling. I won't lower myself to a kid's level. Then where are we going now? Is there anything more memorable in New Orleans? There's a street in New Moon City that sells traditional handicrafts. Most of the ancestors are French and Italian craftsmen. New Moon City's handicrafts are very famous. Chapter 1652. Actually, New Moon City was another name for New Orleans. But in New Orleans, there was an old part of the city that had always been called New Moon City. Because that area was more conservative, it had a very traditional architectural style and atmosphere. Chun Zhao listened as Portia introduced New Orleans. He could not help but interrupt. New Moon City has such a stylish name. Why was it changed to New Orleans? New Orleans was named after Louis XV's regent, the Duke of Orleans, Portia said. But New Orleans has another name. You definitely don't know. What name? City of the Dead. Isn't this name too ominous? Chun Zhao frowned. Actually, it's because New Orleans' terrain is low and it's built on a swamp. It's almost the same as water level. Water will seep in after digging 2 or 3 meters. That's why the coffins of the dead here are all suspended. They're not buried underground, but in the tombs above the ground. But this also caused several plagues in New Orleans. It's all because the corpses were not buried. That's how the name City of the Dead came about. Portia paused for a moment before continuing. 15 years ago, Hurricane Katrina struck New Orleans. Several cemeteries in the city were almost razed to the ground. At that time, thousands of corpses were scattered all over the city by the hurricane, making the name of the city of the undead even more resounding. Chen Zhao frowned. Let's not go to New Moon City. Take me to a few cemeteries in the city. Portia was speechless. Why did he go to a cemetery instead of shopping? Did he eat too much? Boss, what's so good about those places? I just want to see the suspended tombs, Chen Zhao said calmly. Portia was speechless at Chen Zhao's unpredictable style. But what could she do? She was just a personal assistant. She could only do whatever the boss said. Portia sent Chen Zhao to a cemetery. Most cities had cemeteries in the suburbs. But in New Orleans, many cemeteries were in the city. Portia did not like to come to cemeteries. No one did. But she had no choice. Since Chen Zhao was coming, she could only follow. Chen Zhao got out of the car. Portia also got out. Visiting a cemetery? Only he could think of something like that. Portia followed behind him. He kept mumbling to himself. Chen Zhao realized that the graveyard was indeed very low. Some of the turf even seeped water when stepped on. However, Chen Zhao was confused. Surprisingly, Chen Zhao didn't feel any strong yin qi in the cemetery. After all, it was risky to leave the body on the ground. It wasn't just a plague. It was even more likely for them to turn into zombies. Once a corpse came into contact with the moonlight, it was very likely that it would turn into a zombie. The design of this tomb could gather yin and disperse yang. Therefore, logically speaking, the yin qi in this cemetery should be very heavy. But why was the yin qi here so weak? It was even worse than the cemeteries in other cities. Chen Zhao continued walking in the cemetery. Most of the mausoleums in the cemetery maintained a European architectural style. Actually, it was just a smaller version. Some of the mausoleums in the cemetery were relatively new. Many of the older parts were severely damaged. Portia felt very uncomfortable. Not everyone could stand in front of a stranger's mausoleum for a few minutes. Are you not feeling well? Chen Zhao looked back at Portia. Portia's expression was very ugly. Isn't that obvious? Are you feeling well? Okay. Chen Zhao really didn't have any other expression on his face. There was a problem here. This was Chen Zhao's conclusion. But even if he knew there was a problem here, it was useless. Chen Zhao could send Sam and Vakari to guard the two problematic places. But how would he guard the cemetery? The cemetery was an open area. Many people would come to sweep the graves every day. Even if someone came with ulterior motives, they wouldn't be able to tell, unless Chen Zhao guarded the place personally. But Chen Zhao didn't plan on spending the night here. Take me to other cemeteries. Boss, why are you here? I plan on investing in a cemetery. Whoosh! Portia almost couldn't breathe. Boss, you're not joking, right? No. In the next 3 days, give me a proposal for the investment and construction of the cemetery. Boss, cemeteries are usually opened up by the government. There's no investment. No one has ever invested in cemeteries. Portia wanted to stop Chen Zhao's stupid idea. Fine. Chen Zhao shrugged. Portia heaved a sigh of relief. That was close. What was going on in Chen Zhao's head? How could he have such a weird idea? Portia hurriedly drove away with Chen Zhao. Suddenly, a thought flashed through Portia's mind. Boss, you're not messing with me, are you? Chen Zhao turned his head slowly. What? You said you're going to invest in cemeteries. Portia saw the mockery in Chen Zhao's eyes. This asterisk shoal is indeed messing with me. Then, Chen Zhao walked around the cemeteries one after another. Portia was about to go crazy. This guy must be crazy. He could go to the park, the mall, or even the street. What's so good about a cemetery? And he's enjoying it so much. Okay, let's go back to the hotel, Chen Zhao said. There was a man-made island on the Lake Pontchartrain Bridge. It was about 2 square kilometers. It was a leisure area that combined leisure, shopping, and entertainment. Many vehicles would make a detour to this recreational area. But last night, something happened here. After midnight, the place was covered in fog. The dozens of employees in the leisure area lost contact with the outside world. According to the report, a body was found on the Lake Pontchartrain Bridge. It was confirmed to be an employee of the leisure area. Then the police sent a team into the area. But now, Even the police who had entered had disappeared. They had completely lost contact with them. Then the military announced that the bridge was closed and temporarily took over the Lake Pontchartrain Bridge. Even the military didn't know much about the situation in the leisure area now. High-altitude satellites couldn't penetrate the leisure area either. The military had sent 2 helicopters to hover above the leisure area. But both helicopters had crashed in the leisure area. The situation became even more complicated. But the military still didn't know what had happened inside. Demi had a headache now. The Lake Pontchartrain Bridge was the main road. There were close to 50,000 cars every day. Every minute she closed the bridge, the pressure would increase. From a city government to her boss, everyone kept urging her to solve the problem. Chapter 1653. Right now, Demi had very limited information. She only knew that there seemed to be some kind of creature inside, but the number was unknown. Demi only had 2 choices now. Send troops to attack. Demi had troops, very powerful troops. But from the current situation, the fog in the leisure area seemed to be harmful to the human body. The pilots of the 2 downed helicopters were wearing gas masks, but they still crashed. This meant that the fog could enter human pores. The only good thing was that the fog hadn't spread. Once it spread to the cities on both sides of the river, it would cause huge panic and casualties. If she sent troops to attack, she had to give the soldiers full protection first. Wearing full body isolation suits would definitely affect their movements, even if they destroyed the thing inside. But how could they disperse the fog? This was also a problem. So, she could only ask for help from her superiors. "Hello, I'm Portia, Mr. Chen's personal assistant." "Who are you looking for?" "Personal assistant." Leong frowned. "Where's Chen now?" "May I know who you are?" "Is Chen with you now?" "Get him on the phone." "Sir, the boss isn't with me right now. If you need anything, I can pass it to him." "Which phone is he using now?" Leong asked impatiently. "I'm sorry, sir. Without his permission, I can't give you his private number." "Where's your boss now?" "Tell him to call me back. He knows my number." "Okay, I'll tell him." Portia's answer was flawless. But just then, Portia's door was suddenly pushed open. Portia clearly remembered that her door was locked. How could it be? Who would come to her room at this time? Could it be Chen Zhao? Portia stood up and walked to the entrance. Then she saw 2 soldiers walk in. Behind them, a woman walked in. Wasn't she the female officer who'd argued with Chen Zhao before the Lake Pontchartrain Bridge? "What are you doing?" "This is my room. Please leave." "Where did Chen Zhao go?" Demi didn't waste time and went straight to the point. "The boss is in his room. He's not in mine." "Why are you here?" Portia panicked. Did something happen to Chen Zhao? Is this woman here to capture Chen Zhao? 2 soldiers poked their heads into Portia's room and shook their heads at Demi. "Give me his number." Portia immediately objected. "I have no obligation to cooperate with you." But at that moment, Demi raised the gun and pointed it at Portia's head. Portia broke down. What happened to democracy and freedom? "I hope you can seriously consider my request. I'm not very patient, especially when it comes to that bastard." Demi looked at Portia with a cold gaze. "Do you understand?" Portia was so scared that her legs turned to jelly and she nodded subconsciously. "Where did he go?" "He's in the room." "He's not in his room." "I've already been there," Demi said coldly. Portia's mind was blank. Had Chen Zhao received the news and escaped? What's his phone number? 19 asterisk 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 asterisk. Demi dialed Chen Zhao's number. "Hello, who is this?" "I'm Demi Sonnenfeld," Demi said. "Sorry, you've dialed the wrong number." Just as Chen Zhao was about to hang up, Demi immediately said, "I'm with your little assistant." Chen Zhao chuckled. "You're not going to use her life to threaten me, right? Let's not talk about whether she's that important to me. Even if I care about her, can you kill her? Don't forget that you're a soldier. You protect the American people. The military has the power to force conscription during special times. She'll become a soldier soon and go on a dangerous mission." "Okay, what do you want to talk to me about?" "Where are you right now?" "Playing outside." "Why?" "Go back to the hotel immediately." "I don't have time." "If you want to wait, then wait. If not, then let her go to the battlefield," Chen Zhao said nonchalantly. When are you coming back? Depends on my mood. Chun Zhao didn't know why Demi wanted to talk to him, but it had nothing to do with Chun Zhao. Demi was also very angry. At the same time, she was even more anxious. She asked for help from her superior. Then, for some reason, her superior recommended Chun Zhao to her. Chun Zhao didn't care how anxious Demi was. Anyway, he wasn't in a hurry. Chun Zhao drove to the restaurant that was open at night yesterday. When the bearded owner saw Chun Zhao, he immediately placed the menu before Chun Zhao. After ordering some food, Chun Zhao called Sam and Vakari to inform them. 10 minutes later, the two arrived. Sir. Yes, sit down and eat something, Chun Zhao said casually. The two were indeed a bit hungry. They didn't stand on ceremony with Chun Zhao. They picked up the hamburger and sandwiches and started eating. Did you monitor those two places like I asked? Chun Zhao asked. Yes, Sam said. I sat in the car all day. I was even questioned by the patrolling police. Did you find anything? No. I waited all day and no one went near that house. Sam shook his head. Chun Zhao turned to Vickery. What about you? Me too, Vickery said. I didn't see anyone go near the abandoned toll station. Chun Zhao tossed $1,000 in front of the two. You two install a driving recorder in your car, Chun Zhao said. Sir, do you not trust us? Yes. Why should Chun Zhao trust them? The two could only lower their heads and eat the food in their hands helplessly. It made sense. They didn't have anything worthy of Chun Zhao's trust. After all, they weren't familiar with each other, and they were gangsters. Sir, can you tell me who you're looking for? No, Chun Zhao said indifferently. Call me immediately if you find anything. As long as you find the person I'm looking for, I'll give you a large sum of money. Even if you don't find the person, I'll pay you every day according to our agreement. Of course, if you play tricks, I'll find someone to kill you. Sir, we know some people. They might be able to help you find the person you're looking for. No need, Chun Zhao rejected directly. They could only find gangsters. Plus, if there were too many people, it would be easy to leak that he was looking for someone. If the spiritualists wanted to hide, it wouldn't be easy for Chun Zhao to find them. Please remember the domain name of this book. 9 Heavens God King. Chapter 1654. In fact, Chun Zhao had only asked them to watch over the place with a probing attitude. Chun Zhao wouldn't put all his hopes on two hooligans. If they didn't have a chance, then Chun Zhao would follow his original plan. If you guys watch the place for me at night, I'll pay you 500 more. Sam and Vakari looked at each other. They didn't know who Chun Zhao was looking for. But Chun Zhao's price wasn't low. Even a private detective wouldn't pay 1,000 a day. Chun Zhao obviously wasn't that rich. It was mainly because the mission was dangerous. Of course, Chun Zhao didn't plan on letting them take the risk. As long as they found someone, they could call Chun Zhao immediately. Mr. Chun, does tonight count? I promise I won't play any tricks, Vickery said sincerely. Sure. Chun Zhao nodded. Call me if you find anything. Okay, I'll go back now. With that, Chun Zhao stood up and left. Demi was still waiting for him in the hotel. He hoped that Portia hadn't broken down yet. Chun Zhao whistled and returned to the hotel. As soon as he entered the lobby, he saw a few people staring at him. Judging from their auras, they should be soldiers. What? Are they going to beat me up? Chun Zhao couldn't be bothered with them. It was impossible for him to kill them in front of everyone. Chun Zhao whistled and entered the elevator. The soldiers in civilian clothes followed them in. A minute later, Chun Zhao arrived at Portia's floor. There was only one person standing in the elevator. The others were all lying on the ground. The soldier broke out in a cold sweat. They were soldiers who had been trained for a few years. They could definitely do something on the battlefield. But in the end, they were all beaten down by that man in less than 10 seconds. Chun Zhao pushed open Portia's door. Instantly, a gun was pointed at Chun Zhao's head. Bang! In the room, Portia and Demi saw a soldier fly in. They lay on the ground and didn't get up. Demi's expression darkened as she watched Chun Zhao walk in. You'd better explain to me why you hit my people. You'd better explain to me why your men pointed a gun at my head. At the same time, he turned to Portia. Portia, I heard that something happened to you, so I immediately came back to save you. Are you touched? Portia looked at Chun Zhao as if she was looking at a demon. She had heard the conversation between Chun Zhao and Demi very clearly. This guy didn't care about her life at all. Demi took a deep breath and suppressed the anger in her heart. Mr. Chun, in the name of the military, I would like to hire you as a special consultant. Not interested, Chun Zhao said indifferently. Demi could trick Portia, but that didn't mean she could trick Chun Zhao. You have no right to refuse. Chun Zhao laughed mockingly. And then? Demi knew that being tough was useless, so she could only calm herself down and try her best to control her emotions. Mr. Chun, consider it as hiring. The military will pay you. Fine. How much do you want to pay me? Chun Zhao asked. $2 million. Portia sucked in a cold breath. So much money. Didn't Demi have a grudge against Chun Zhao? Why did she hire Chun Zhao now? And $2 million right off the bat. Portia had thought that Demi was here to capture Chun Zhao, but things weren't what she had imagined at all. Do you know that even if I don't do anything, my monthly income is close to $70 million? Chun Zhao looked at Demi. In other words, the pay you gave me isn't even enough for a day's income. Also, given the bad record of the military, I'm doubtful if the military can keep its promise. After all, I don't want the Las Vegas incident to happen again, right? Portia was completely dumbfounded. $70 million a month? What kind of joke was this? Was Chun Zhao a drug dealer? Tell me, how much do you want? Tell me what happened first, Chun Zhao said calmly. Demi looked at Portia. Go out first, Chun Zhao ordered Portia. There was no benefit for her to get involved. Also, this should be a military secret. It was very dangerous for ordinary people to know military secrets. Even if Demi wouldn't do anything to Portia in front of Chun Zhao. For a long time in the future, Portia might be under the military surveillance. After Portia walked out of the room, the door was closed. Another soldier stood guard outside. The leisure area of the artificial island under the Lake Pontchartrain Bridge has been shrouded in mist since last night, Demi said. Other than the dozens of employees in the leisure area, a few more groups of people have entered the island. From what we know, there's some kind of creature on the island. From the corpses we've found, that thing eats people. The mist was released by that thing. The mist also has a very strong anesthetic effect. It's 100 times stronger than the current military tranquilizer gun bullets. As long as a part of the mist comes into contact with it, you'll lose all feeling and touch. You have experience dealing with abnormal creatures, so I need you to lead a team in and find a way to disperse the mist. It'd be best if you can kill those creatures. You said yourself. The mist has a very strong anesthetic effect. I'll just be a piece of rotten meat if I go in. All of you will wear military isolation suits, Demi said. It's only one level lower than space suits. It's completely sealed. I can consider it, Chun Zhao said, but it's still very risky for me. $5 million. As long as you're willing to accept this mission, the military can give you $5 million and pay 20% in advance. Chun Zhao shook his head. $20 million, and it'll be paid in full. That's impossible. Demi immediately yelled. The military won't pay such a high price. Portia, who was outside, heard Demi's yell. However, with the soldier at the door watching, Portia didn't dare to approach. I don't have enough benefits. Why should I participate in such a dangerous mission? Also, your credibility is too low. I don't trust you at all. I can't make the decision. Then find someone who can, Chun Zhao said indifferently. Oh, please make a decision soon. After all, I don't like to stay up late. Even though Demi hated Chun Zhao to the bone, she couldn't do anything to him. Also, I won't go with that team you mentioned. Who knows if your people will shoot me in the back. Please remember this book's domain name. 9 Heavens Divine Emperor. Chapter 1655. A while later, Chun Zhao's phone rang. It was Leon. Chun, help me. The situation this time is very serious. If the fog spreads, it'll cause huge casualties to the cities on both sides of the artificial island. This isn't California, Chun Zhao said, so I have no reason to do volunteer work. Plus, this is very risky for me. Shouldn't the military show enough sincerity when hiring someone? But your asking price of $20 million is too high. No, 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 it's not high at all, Chun Zhao said. I think it matches my current value. Chun, just do me a favor. We're friends. Of course, I'm willing to help you. Huh? We're friends? Chun Zhao didn't believe it himself, let alone Leong. They'd never been friends, but they weren't enemies now. That was all. Leong was someone who prioritized benefits. Back then, he became Chun Zhao's enemy mainly because the supernatural organization couldn't be controlled. But now, Leong wasn't the head of the anti-terrorism security department anymore. So, whether the supernatural organization was controlled by the anti-terrorism security department or not had nothing to do with him. So, it wasn't impulsive to become Chun Zhao's enemy now. It was stupid. The Lake Pontchartrain Bridge incident this time had nothing to do with Leong. Leong was just helping his colleague. It could also be considered an exchange of benefits. If Chun Zhao helped, he was helping him. If he didn't help, he wouldn't get hurt. Anyway, Leong was doing a business without buying or selling. So, you agree? Leong, something's wrong with my body recently. I accidentally hurt myself while practicing magic. I can die at any time, so I need to save money for my family. Okay, I understand. I'll send your condition to the military. A while later, Demi came to Chun Zhao with a murderous expression. My superior has already agreed to your request. I can give you the money, but I'll only transfer it after you solve the problem. Cough. I haven't been feeling well recently. I'll go back and sleep. Wait, I can transfer 20% first, Demi said. Goodbye. 50%. I'll transfer you $10 million first. I want everything, not a penny less. Demi gritted her teeth at Chun Zhao. Chun Zhao didn't trust Demi or the military. If the military wanted to renege on the debt, there was nothing he could do. Of course, it wasn't completely impossible. It was nothing more than mutual harm. But in the end, it was still Chun Zhao who was at a disadvantage. Okay, $20 million US. I'll transfer the money now. Demi compromised in the end. There was no other way. Chun Zhao was too stubborn. And every minute the Lake Pontchartrain Bridge was blocked was a penny lost. The pressure on Demi increased as well. If this matter could not be resolved satisfactorily, then her development in the military would come to an end. The money has been transferred. Chun Zhao nodded and walked out of the room. Portia said, help me check if there's any cash in my account. Yes, boss, Portia replied carefully. A minute later, Portia stared at Chun Zhao in shock. Boss, you just received $20 million US. Very good. Chun Zhao finally looked satisfied. In any case, it was not a loss to make $20 million US in one night. You can go now, right? Of course. Hurry up and take me there. I really want to save those in danger right now. Demi felt like her fists were thirsty. If not for the fact that she couldn't beat Chun Zhao. She really wanted to kill Chun Zhao now. Boss, where are you going? Shopping, Chun Zhao said. You want to come? Really? Shopping? Yes. Where's the nearest cemetery? Help me check. Portia was about to break down. Boss, I'm tired. Forget it, Chun Zhao said considerately. You can rest. When Chun Zhao and Demi arrived at the elevator, Demi saw that her subordinates were all injured. Demi's face darkened. Who did it? Everyone looked at Chun Zhao. Demi glared at Chun Zhao. You dare to attack my people? Demi had always been a very protective person. Seeing her subordinates get beaten up, her anger exploded. Are they your people? I thought they were bad guys with bad intentions. Chun Zhao looked at Demi innocently. It was as if he was saying, trust me. You better not die in there. Demi cursed Chun Zhao viciously. Buffed. So many people want me to die, but I'm still alive and well. Chun Zhao glanced at Demi. But the people who curse me will most likely die. You should be careful. They arrived at the checkpoint at the Lake Pontchartrain Bridge. Demi found the adjutant and asked, what's the situation now? The fog has expanded by 10%. We found another corpse in Lake Pontchartrain. Nothing else has changed. How's the preparation for our assault team? We've already organized a team of 20, the adjutant said. We're just waiting for the commander's order. Our assault team will enter the artificial island. Demi looked at Chun Zhao. Are you sure you want to go alone? Anyway, I won't go with your people. With our grudge, I doubt you'll order your subordinates to shoot me. The aide looked at Chun Zhao in surprise. He didn't know Chun Zhao He didn't know Chen Zhao and Demi's personal grudge. However, he was surprised that Chen Zhao would say this in front of Demi. "We're soldiers," Demi said with a dark expression. "We have moral boundaries." "Moral boundaries? You're talking to me about moral boundaries?" Chen Zhao snorted. "Is your moral boundary to go back on your word? Oh, don't blame me for your commander's death. If you hadn't instigated it, Paul wouldn't have died. You finally admit that you did it. So what if I admit it? Do you have evidence? Don't forget that you were watching me the whole time. You're my most powerful witness. Most of the time, the military doesn't need evidence." Demi looked at Chen Zhao darkly. "That's true," Chen Zhao sneered. "But you better ask your superior if you have the courage to do it to me." "Guys, now's not the time to argue," the adjutant said, trying to smooth things over. Only then did Chen Zhao and Demi stop arguing. "Give me an isolation suit," Chen Zhao said. "Don't play tricks on the suit. If I find out, I'll flip out." Ignoring Chen Zhao, Demi turned to the adjutant. "Assault team, prepare to enter the artificial island." Chapter 1656. Chen Zhao's background was different from the military's assault team. However, the two groups had set off together. Chen Zhao put on the isolation suit. The 20 members of the assault team were all dressed neatly too. Of course, their equipment had to be more varied. There were large-caliber submachine guns, explosive grenades, and thermal scanners. The assault team looked at Chen Zhao curiously. Apart from the isolation suit, Chen Zhao didn't bring anything else. Most importantly, he was still holding the hood. He didn't seem to be in a hurry at all. After all, the assault team members were all extremely nervous. Most importantly, the guy had taken out a can of beer from somewhere and was drinking it as he walked. After that, he threw it everywhere. "Captain, who's that guy?" "I don't know." Benjamin shook his head. He also didn't know who the guy in front was. "Fuck, we're carrying guns and cannons. That guy only has a box of beer, right?" The assault team members were all pissed off, but they couldn't help it. They weren't together. Plus, the guy was walking in front. It was clear that they weren't on the same path. "Luzink, what's your situation now?" "Sir, who's that guy in front?" "Don't mind him. He's not an enemy or a friend. Will he obstruct our mission?" "His mission is the same as yours. Destroy all the unknown creatures on the artificial island and find a way to disperse the fog." "But he doesn't have any weapons," Luzink said indignantly. "And he's been drinking beer along the way. Doesn't he know that he's on a mission now?" Luzink was very unbalanced. Their journey wasn't short. It was a full 20 kilometers. Plus, they were equipped with equipment that weighed less than 30 kilograms. To reduce the burden, they didn't even bring drinking water. Now, they could only watch Chen Zhao drink along the way, but they could only watch others drink. They were carrying a lot of equipment and sweating profusely, but they couldn't drink anything. Anyone would be mentally unbalanced. In fact, many people in the assault team were already mentally unbalanced. "Sir, my teammates need drinking water," Luzink said. "We've already walked 10 kilometers with weights. We'll enter the fog in half an hour, but my teammates are in bad shape." "All right, wait here. I'll send a transport vehicle to resupply you." Not long after, the supply vehicle arrived. It was an armored vehicle. Although the assault team members could temporarily quench their thirst, they were drinking water while the others were drinking alcohol. They still felt it was unfair. "Why no wine? I want beer," a member of the team complained. "Shut up," Luxembourg scolded. He wasn't happy either, but he wouldn't say what he was thinking. Of course, he also knew that he was on a mission. It was unrealistic to drink during a mission. In the end, the psychological quality of these soldiers was too poor. It could even be said that she was spoiled. After the assault team replenished some of their energy, they continued to move forward. By then, Chen Zhao had already disappeared. Suddenly, Luxembourg stopped in his tracks. "Stop!" Luxembourg came to the side of the bridge, where there was obvious damage to the concrete. There were also fresh bloodstains on it, and from the looks of it, it was very fresh. "Captain, what happened?" "That person was attacked just now," Luxembourg said. "He might already be dead." For some reason, the commando team members all felt a little relieved, but also a little gloating. "Okay, be careful," Luxembourg said. Everyone was immersed in their own emotions. Suddenly, they heard a whistling sound. It was like a gust of wind, but it was not a gust of wind. It was a gray shadow. What's that? Duh. The few soldiers standing in front opened fire first. The figure let out a strange cry. Then, something fell, and the figure swept across the bridge, jumping into the sea below the bridge with a splash. The speed of that figure was simply too fast. They were all well trained, but they could only barely catch the figure's movements. Luxembourg walked to the front and looked down. It was an arm, a human arm. Hiss! Was that a human? How is that possible? How can a human be so fast? Suddenly, the arm on the ground moved. Everyone was startled. At this moment, the severed arm suddenly stood up. Then, its 5 fingers moved on the ground. Everyone looked at each other with incredulous looks on their faces. Luxembourg reacted abruptly and kicked the severed arm away. The severed arm rolled twice on the ground. Suddenly, it jumped up and grabbed at Luxembourg. Luzink suddenly pulled out his dagger and slashed. His severed arm was once again cut into 2. This time, the arm didn't move. Blood seeped out. Be careful. Something doesn't seem right. Luxembourg wasn't in a hurry to leave. Instead, he crouched down to study it. Why did the arm seem to be alive earlier? But why did it die after he cut it in half? Luxembourg found that there was a cut spore at the place where he cut it. Was it because of the spore? Luxembourg wasn't sure. After reporting the situation to Demi, Luxembourg led the team forward. After walking for about 20 minutes, they finally approached the foggy area. Hiss! Everyone's earpieces were filled with noisy interference sounds. Adjust the frequency and switch to internal communication, Luzink ordered. Clearly, they had cut off all communication with the outside world. Don't be careless. Not only was their external communication cut off, but the visibility in the fog was only about 5 meters. Plus, the enemy was extremely fast. This was a huge test for everyone. Luxembourg knew that he could hit that figure on the bridge. It wasn't just because of his reaction speed. It was also because of the distance. It gave them some time to prepare, but the visibility in the fog was so low. In other words, if they encountered that thing again, it would be very difficult for them to hit the target. Even at this time, if that thing rushed into their formation, it would bring great trouble. So Luxembourg arranged for the people in the middle to use pistols and daggers for defense. This was indeed the best choice. Luxembourg was worthy of being an experienced veteran, and he immediately thought of a countermeasure. Just then, there seemed to be a figure in front of them, but because they were in the fog, it was very hard to tell. Shoot at will. Chapter 1657. No matter what that figure was, he couldn't get close to it. It was too dangerous in such an environment. Plus, this was a battlefield. If they waited for him to give the order to shoot, they might delay the battle or even cause the team to collapse. So he had to give the order to shoot at will. The figure disappeared instantly. Luxembourg raised his hand and put it away. The gunshot stopped. Luxembourg gave the order to advance cautiously. There was a pool of blood on the ground. It seemed that the thing they attacked was injured. Did it not die again? Whoosh! Right at this moment, a whistling sound rang out in everyone's ears. They weren't unfamiliar with this sound. Something was in the fog. However, because the sound transmitted in the fog would be repeatedly reflected, it caused the sound to become very chaotic. Just then, a figure rushed out of the fog. The figure was too fast. Luxembourg's reaction was the fastest, and he fired instantly. But the figure instantly avoided its original position and circled to the side. Bang, bang. Luxembourg switched to using his pistol. One shot missed, and one hit. The figure stopped. Only then did everyone see it clearly. Wasn't it a person? Luxembourg fired another shot at the figure's head. He used the Desert Eagle, which could be said to be the most powerful pistol. The thing's head exploded instantly, but its movements didn't stop. It continued to charge at the commando formation. Everyone was a little shocked. It could still move without a head. One of the commandos was thrown to the ground by the headless thing. Then the thing started to tear the commando's uniform. Luxembourg stepped forward and kicked the thing over, stabbing it with all his might with his dagger. But it wasn't dead yet. Luxembourg suddenly remembered that there were also swollen spores on the thing's body, and there were quite a few of them. Luxembourg raised his dagger and stabbed one of the spores on the thing's chest. Instantly, the thing's body stopped moving, but its limbs were still moving. Luxembourg saw that there were a few spores on the thing's limbs. Luxembourg immediately used his pistol and shot the spores on the thing's left arm. When the spores were shot, its left arm stopped moving. Then the right arm, then the thigh. These are living corpses just like the zombies in Resident Evil. It's useless to attack their brains. The spores on these things should be some kind of parasitic organism, and wherever they are, that part will have an independent life, Lusing said. If he was just guessing before, he could confirm his guess now. Merrick, how are you? No, I'm fine. Merrick was the one who had been attacked by the parasite earlier. He didn't dare tell Lusing that his protective suit was torn. But before he set off, he was told that the fog here had an extremely strong anesthetic effect. Logically speaking, he should have been anesthetized by now. But the truth was that he wasn't affected. Also, his inner thigh seemed to be injured. It worried him if he told Luxembourg that he was injured. Would Luxembourg think that he was infected and abandon him? They might even be killed. That's good. Let's move on. Luxembourg nodded. He did not notice Merrick's strange behavior. After all, they were separated by the protective suit, and Merrick sounded slightly panicked. He just thought that it was because he had just been attacked. The team continued to advance normally, but they did not know that as soon as they left, the headless corpse that should have been dead stood up again. There was a spore on the back of the corpse. It was the first time for the commando team, including Luxembourg, to deal with such abnormal organisms. No matter what glorious achievements the commando team had in the past, they had no experience in dealing with supernatural events. Thus, Luxembourg found the weakness of these living corpses with his quick thinking. He did not examine the corpses carefully. The limbs of the corpses were changing. The bullets started being forced out of the gunshot wounds and then healed. Not long after, the living corpse turned back into a complete body with 4 limbs and an abnormally developed head. However, before the living corpse could move, an even larger figure rushed out of the fog, instantly biting the newly recovered living corpse and devouring it in large mouthfuls. Suddenly, the huge living corpse stopped eating and turned to look at the mist. Chun Zhao walked out of the fog. The huge living corpse immediately pounced at Chun Zhao. Come here. Chun Zhao lifted his leg and kicked the corpse away. Chun Zhao did not care whether he killed it or not. He had been following behind the commando team. Merrick's infection had also happened under his watch. But Chun Zhao wanted to know if there were any changes during the infection. As for the commando team's life and death, what did that have to do with him? Was he familiar with them? What happened on the artificial island was definitely not a sudden event. It was man-made. The fog here was filled with a chemical smell. There were magic spores floating in the air. It was clearly a person with a certain level of chemical production ability. At the same time, this person or the organization behind him had spiritualist abilities. The combination of the two created the incident on the artificial island. But the fog would quickly evaporate into the air. So, the fog had to be released continuously. Otherwise, it would have dissipated long ago. As for the possibility of it spreading, as long as the machine that released the fog didn't suddenly increase its release speed by 100 times, there was no possibility of it spreading. Chun Zhao did not destroy the machine, because it had already happened. There was no one alive on the island, except for him and the commando team. Chun Zhao was more interested in the changes and reactions of the people infected by the magic spores. As for who was doing the experiment on the island, Chun Zhao could not find it. He did not have the time to chase the culprit for the military. Of course, it was not that he had no clues at all. Chun Zhao discovered that almost all the machines in the leisure area of the artificial island had been destroyed. Only the surveillance and power supply were still normal. If he followed this trail, he might be able to find more clues. But he still went to the surveillance room and removed all the hard drives. What happened here? Could it be related to the Satanists? Chun Zhao guessed. Chun Zhao's small world could not cover the entire artificial island, but a small area was still under Chun Zhao's surveillance. Just then, Chun Zhao discovered that a monster had entered the range of his small world. Chapter 1658. The monster was heading toward the assault team. Chun Zhao stood on the roof of a 3-story building. In fact, he was less than 20 meters away from the assault team, but the fog blocked their line of sight. Even if they stood close, they couldn't see them. Some monsters noticed Chun Zhao, but he kicked them away. The monsters killed each other. They didn't group up to attack Chun Zhao. Finally, the first casualty of the assault team appeared. It wasn't the infected Merrick. It was another team member. 2 living corpses charged into the formation and disrupted the assault team's deployment. Chun Zhao realized that the attacks of these living corpses were only average. Of course, they weren't average when compared to Chun Zhao. They were compared to the American soldiers. Their only advantage was speed. Furthermore, it was because of this thick fog. If it wasn't for the fog, the American soldiers had cleaned them up a long time ago. But it was the fog that prevented the soldiers from getting what they wanted. At this moment, Merrick finally made his move. He wasn't himself anymore. The magic spores had seeped into his brain. He was a living corpse now, too, just like the zombie spores in the Amazon rainforest. But he didn't turn into a brainless creature. He had human intelligence. In a situation that no one had expected, Merrick grabbed a former comrade. Then he dragged him into the fog. The comrade that Merrick had dragged into the fog was bitten to death. Chun Zhao watched all this without any intention of interfering. After eating the man, Merrick became even stronger. The magic spores had completely changed him. Living corpses didn't have digestive systems anymore. They could directly turn food into energy. There was an advantage to this. Their physical strength could reach an unbelievable level in a short time. But the disadvantages were also obvious. It was like a person who'd taken stimulants. Even sitting still was very tiring. Once their energy was depleted to a certain level, they would feel even more thirsty. They needed more food to replenish the energy they used up. If there was enough food here, these living corpses would work together to fight against outsiders. But there were only living corpses here. There were no other creatures. They could only eat each other. But now, the assault team had arrived. All the living corpses focused their attention on the assault team. Chun Zhao also realized something else. The living corpses with more parasite spores. They were not stronger than their own kind, but they were more energetic. In other words, their energy consumption and control were more precise. After Merrick devoured the body of his former comrade, he took off his isolation suit. It came into contact with the mist in the air on a large scale and allowed the magic spores in the mist to parasitize it. These magic spores could not be attached directly to the skin. They needed to enter the blood or oral cavity before they could parasitize Merrick. And it wasn't an ordinary parasite. It was the first magic spore. The host was like a house, and the magic spores were the owners and tenants. The owner could not rent to as many tenants as he wanted. They needed to devour more people or their own kind, obtain their flesh and blood, and then turn their flesh and blood into their own, so that more magic spores could parasitize them. Merrick did not attack the commandos directly. It had its eyes on another of its kind, a weaker living corpse. Without much effort, Merrick made it a part of himself. Merrick's body started to mutate. An arm popped out from its left shoulder. But Merrick's changes did not stop there. It didn't just have an extra arm. Instead, it was an invisible change inside its body. Its body structure became more reasonable. From a certain perspective, it was also evolving. But evolution was not that easy. Chun Zhao had gone through a few evolutions. However, his body's evolution came from the golden key. Every time, it consumed a large amount of energy. But the energy needed for a living corpse to evolve was through devouring. This kind of evolution was very unstable. If Chun Zhao's evolution process was like building a building, he would only go up a little bit each time, but it was stable. On the other hand, the evolution of a living corpse was like building blocks. It could go up very high in a short time, but it would collapse easily. This was the difference between the two. Actually, this analogy was not appropriate. The process of human evolution was a process of building skyscrapers. The foundation was already there. All of Chun Zhao's evolutions were built on this foundation. But the evolution of a living corpse was different. It was to push away this foundation and then say, "Come, let's build blocks." Actually, human evolution was traceable. The first was the evolution of appearance. Humans had always been evolving in the direction of becoming taller and more in line with the environment. Why did humans like beauty? This was actually determined by their genes. Putting aside individual differences in aesthetics, humans subconsciously thought that beauty was more advanced. So, the direction of human evolution would be more in line with their own aesthetics, as long as the environment did not change drastically. Then, the general direction of human evolution would not change. It would not become uglier as one evolved. Of course, this kind of ugliness did not refer to the face, but the distortion of the body. In fact, this kind of aesthetics did not only happen to humans. Many species in the world actually evolved in this direction too. Humans also tended to like cute and beautiful animals. There are also aesthetic tendencies among the same species. What happened on this artificial island was probably caused by a madman or a crazy organization. It might even be the government. Don't think that it was impossible. Some small towns in America's borders had mysteriously disappeared. Similar secrets were kept in the supernatural society. The assault team lost a few more people. Merrick was even more cunning. It had been secretly following the assault team. Whether the members of the assault team died or the living corpses were destroyed, it devoured the corpses. Lusink, the leader of the assault team, felt that it was too risky to move in an open space. He decided to enter the largest building on the artificial island, which was the supermarket. The supermarket was an enclosed space, so there was not much fog inside. But to Chun Zhao, this was a very wrong decision. In this world, if there was a man-made maze, it would undoubtedly be a supermarket. Large supermarkets would try to make the terrain as complicated as possible. It was so that the customers could not walk out. Now, the assault team had entered an enormous maze. Chapter 1659. The commando team's only advantage now was their firearms. In this world, guns and ammunition still had great lethality. Even Chun Zhao didn't dare to say that he was immune to all firearms. However, the firearms they were equipped with needed a wide field of vision to be most effective. Outside the building, their firearms were limited by the fog and couldn't capture the enemy immediately. But in the maze, there were too many obstacles, making it harder for their firearms to be effective. Chun Zhao could see this problem, and so could Lusink. However, people would develop psychological problems if they stayed in the fog for too long. Even Lusink felt the pressure in his body and mind. He didn't know if he continued to stay in the fog. Would the commando team break down first? So, he had to enter the building. The supermarket's electricity was still running. The entire place was brightly lit. However, there was no one. Everyone heaved a long sigh of relief. It was as if all the pressure in their hearts had been released. Chun Zhao also entered the supermarket. He realized that there were no magic spores here. That shouldn't be the case. Although the supermarket was a sealed space, it wasn't truly sealed. There shouldn't be any magic spores, right? But after thinking about it, Chun Zhao understood what was going on. The existence of magic spores depended on the spread of the mist. However, large supermarkets like this all had air purifiers. Those high-powered air purifiers directly cleared the fog and magic spores in the air. Leader, the air quality is good. Don't take off all the isolation suits yet, Lusink said. I'll take them off first. If I have any adverse reactions in 10 minutes, immediately inject me with a neutralizer. Lusink still chose to be cautious. However, 10 minutes later, Lusink could finally confirm that there were no harmful gases in the air. Okay, take off your isolation suits and breathe in the fresh air. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Bang! Suddenly, a voice made everyone tense up, even though they had just relaxed. Everyone pointed their guns at the source of the sound. It was a living corpse with pustules all over its body. However, this living corpse wasn't like the flesh and blood they'd seen before. The body of this living corpse was filled with a metallic luster. You? Merrick? It's you? Everyone looked at Merrick in disbelief. He could still vaguely make out Merrick's face. It wasn't just Merrick who had been infected by the magic spores. Furthermore, there were 3 pairs of arms on his back. Everyone was a little surprised. He didn't expect it to only disappear for a little more than an hour. That was what Merrick had become. Bang! Lusink raised his Desert Eagle and fired a shot at Merrick's head. Merrick tilted his head back slightly. The bullet was embedded in Merrick's forehead. The skin on Merrick's forehead twitched, and the bullet fell to the ground. Everyone was shocked. Bang! Suddenly, another loud noise came from behind. Then, a giant beast blocked the assault team's path. The giant beast smashed through 2 rows of shelves on the left and right, glaring at the assault team members with ferocious eyes. It looked like a dog. To be precise, he was a dog when he was alive. But at this moment, it had already severed its relationship with the dog. It was much larger than Merrick. It was at least 4 meters long. Its entire body seemed to be severely scalded. Almost all of its skin had fallen off. It was covered in blood, and smoke rose faintly from its body. Sharp bone spikes grew out of its joints. Then, more loud noises came from the assault team's right. Rows of shells were flipped over and sent flying. The assault team turned around. It was a living corpse that looked like a mountain gorilla. One could still vaguely tell what the corpse used to look like. However, its forelimbs had clearly evolved much faster than its hind limbs. Merrick, the zombie dog, and the gorilla monster stood in a triangle, surrounding the assault team. The assault team's faces were extremely pale. They all looked at the 3 monsters in fear. Luxembourg was also at a loss. Suddenly, he saw a figure sitting on one of the shelves. Luxembourg's eyes narrowed. It's that person. Is he a human or an infected corpse? Luxembourg wasn't sure. Chun Zhao sat on the top of the shelf with his legs crossed, watching the situation below. Chun Zhao met Luxembourg's gaze and grinned. He waved at Luxembourg. You're not infected? Hearing Luxembourg's words, everyone looked up at Chun Zhao too. How is that possible? You're not dead? Why are you here? Why do you think I'm dead? Chun Zhao chuckled. You're alone and don't have any equipment. How can you avoid these monsters? Chun Zhao chuckled. He clearly wasn't going to answer this question. Do you still have time to ask me questions? We don't have much time, do you? One had to admit that Luxembourg's intentions were very sinister. He wanted to lure a monster to attack Chun Zhao. That way, they could retreat from the encirclement. If the 3 monsters surrounded them from 3 directions, their chances of winning weren't high. But if they could lure a monster to attack Chun Zhao, their pressure would be greatly reduced. Moreover, after a short encounter, they realized that these monsters were very, very smart. Apart from being irrational, they weren't any less intelligent than humans. Apart from their lack of rationality, their intelligence was no less than that of humans. Their battle instincts were even stronger than humans. Everyone in the assault team was armed to the teeth. They knew what to do. They might not be able to win against the assault team head-on. Even Merrick, who could block bullets. It didn't mean that he could remain unscathed against firearms. After all, it was only the Desert Eagle that attacked him just now. The assault team's automatic rifles were much more powerful than the Desert Eagle. Moreover, there were other firearms. For example, explosive grenades. They were enough to cause damage to him. They weren't fatal, but they were still a great threat. As expected, Merrick turned to look at Chun Zhao. Merrick wasn't the Merrick of the past anymore. However, it had a very good understanding of firearms. Therefore, he instinctively thought that it wasn't worth it to fight the assault team head-on. Moreover, there were 2 living corpses that weren't weaker than him. If he advanced too recklessly and got heavily injured, the 2 monsters would seize the opportunity and swallow him whole. He was more willing to be like before. When the sandpiper and clam fought, he would be the fisherman. Merrick slowly took a few steps back. Luxembourg was overjoyed. It seemed that his plan had succeeded. As expected, Merrick retreated. The perfect encirclement already had a hole. Chapter 1660. As soon as Merrick moved, the assault team immediately retreated toward the hole Merrick had created. Merrick looked at Chun Zhao. After a brief pause, Merrick attacked Chun Zhao. Chun Zhao didn't even stand up. He casually slapped him. Merrick was sent flying by the slap. Luzink and the others suddenly realized that Merrick had returned to them. Of course, Merrick didn't appear before them in a normal way. Instead, he was smashed by someone. Compared to when Merrick had appeared and shocked everyone, Chun Zhao was different. Right now, Merrick was in a very sorry state. The ground where Merrick landed cracked from the impact. 4 of the 8 arms on his back were broken. Everyone looked at Chun Zhao in shock. What had just happened? They were busy retreating, so they didn't see what had happened. Luzink looked at Chun Zhao. Sir, since you're strong enough, we should work together. Huh? Chun Zhao laughed mockingly. You clearly didn't plan to do that. Luzink had planned to use Chun Zhao as bait. Just because of this, they wouldn't be friends. In the business world, the concept of friend and enemy was very vague. But on the battlefield, enemies and friends could be instantly distinguished. Those who betrayed you once wouldn't be friends. No one was willing to fight alongside a traitor, because no one knew if the traitor would shoot them in the back. Of course, Chun Zhao had never wanted to be their friend. It was just a matter of who would betray first. Sir, if you can't be our comrade, then you can only be our enemy. Luzink was a decisive person. He wouldn't waste time and pretend to be polite. Are you sure it's good to add another enemy now? If I go to hell, Luzink said, I'll make all my enemies die with me. That's if you have the ability, Chun Zhao said indifferently. Without another word, Luzink raised his Desert Eagle and fired at Chun Zhao. But Chun Zhao only used his index finger and thumb to pinch the bullet. This thing is useless against me. Chun Zhao casually tossed the bullet away. Everyone's expression changed again. Catching a bullet with his hand? How is that possible? What about this? Luzink suddenly tossed a grenade at Chun Zhao. Moreover, he had calculated the time of the explosion. The power of a high explosive grenade was terrifying. This was no ordinary grenade. The radius of a normal grenade was only 4 meters. However, the radius of a high explosive bomb was 12 meters. It wasn't just the difference in killing radius. At the same time, high explosive bombs could instantly create super high temperatures. It could melt steel in an instant. Chun Zhao reached out and caught the bomb. The bomb exploded the moment Chun Zhao caught it. The high temperature engulfed Chun Zhao instantly. Unfortunately, a second later, when the flames dissipated, Chun Zhao was still standing there unscathed. Chun Zhao flipped his hand, and the melted metal shell flowed down his palm. It's not enough. What exactly are you? Luzink's expression was solemn. What you just said is a curse in my hometown. Luxon immediately changed his direction. This time, he took the initiative to lead the assault team into the encirclement. But the encirclement this time was different from the last time. Based on the IQ of these living corpses, they definitely understood Chun Zhao's threat. Most of the time, battles between intelligent creatures were not decided by pure force. Throughout history, most battles were actually won by the strong. It was just that these battles weren't recorded most of the time. On the other hand, the weak defeating the strong would be recorded in history. Merrick stood up again, a strange howl coming from his mouth. The gorilla monster and cadaver dog also turned to look at Chun Zhao. Sir, have fun. Luxon was rather proud. He felt that his plan had succeeded. Just by changing positions, the original enemies had turned to attack Chun Zhao. Let's go, Luxon ordered. He believed that the 3 monsters wouldn't attack them now. But before they could take a few steps, the gorilla monster descended from the sky and landed before them. Then Cadaver Hound, then Merrick. Fire. Fire at will. Luxon didn't hesitate. He ordered to attack the 3 monsters. Boom, boom, boom. The gorilla monster and cadaver dog were instantly targeted. They couldn't resist in time. Plus, they were already injured. Under the crazy bombardment of the assault team, they were blown to pieces in the blink of an eye. Merrick, on the other hand, displayed his advantage. His defense was much stronger than the gorilla monster and cadaver dog. He charged into the assault team and slaughtered wantonly. In the end, however, a member of the assault team detonated a grenade in a suicidal manner. The suicide attack was successful, but it also affected a few members. A few more died. Now, there were only 5 members left in the assault team. They could barely stand up. It seemed that these monsters weren't very evolved. Moreover, their intelligence had decreased to a certain extent. Suddenly, Chun Zhao sensed a terrifying danger. Almost instantly, Chun Zhao unleashed all his power. Clone, all returned to one, dark assimilation, giant. Boom! The entire city of New Orleans heard a huge explosion. A bright ball of fire shot into the sky. In the middle of the Lake Pontchartrain Bridge, there was a huge explosion on the artificial island. In an instant, the artificial island was blown to pieces. The terrifying impact also swept through the military checkpoint on the Lake Pontchartrain Bridge. The checkpoint was in a mess. Demi's head was bleeding from the impact. What happened? What happened? Demi looked at her messy subordinates. Just then, she saw a bright light. When she saw the skyrocketing ball of fire in the middle of the Lake Pontchartrain Bridge, Demi's face paled. What's that? Sir, immediately assess the power of the explosion and the cause. The checkpoint was attacked, but it wasn't really damaged. There were no casualties. Moreover, the center of the explosion was in the middle of Lake Pontchartrain. Although there were huge waves, the waves had already weakened when they reached the shore. Sir, the cause of the explosion is unknown. The power of the explosion is equivalent to 5,000 tons of TN. The source should be under the artificial island. Demi felt her teeth ache. 5,000 tons. The nuclear explosion in Hiroshima was probably 20,000 tons. Now, such an accident had happened in her mission area. She could almost imagine what kind of accountability she would face. Right, that Asterisk Shoal seemed to be on the artificial island right now. There was no way he could survive that kind of explosion, right? Please remember this book's domain name, Nine Heavens Divine Emperor. Chapter 1661. Sir, we found someone on the Lake Pontchartrain Bridge. He's moving here. Demi picked up the binoculars. It was night, but Demi's binoculars were military and had night vision. Seeing the people on the bridge, Demi was unhappy. Fuck, he's not dead. The person Demi saw was none other than Chun Zhao. It was Chun Zhao. Chun Zhao's clothes were all torn. Chun Zhao also had lingering fear. If not for that sense of danger, Chun Zhao would probably be heavily injured now. Even so, Chun Zhao was still injured. The explosion just now was too sudden. It was too intense. The terrifying power was completely unimaginable. The entire artificial island had disappeared. To some extent, the explosion was even more destructive than Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The two nuclear bombs had exploded in the sky. So, the center of the explosion was actually in the sky. The real damage to Hiroshima and Nagasaki was the shock wave and the decades of nuclear pollution that followed. But the explosion had come from underground. Chun Zhao was basically standing in the center of the explosion. It was easy to imagine how good it felt. Anyway, Chun Zhao felt like he was ascending to heaven. But this also tested the upper limit of Chun Zhao's resistance. This explosion was almost Chun Zhao's upper limit. Just then, a few military vehicles came over. Demi jumped down from the car. She looked at Chun Zhao with a complicated expression. On one hand, she wanted to know more about the artificial island from Chun Zhao. On the other hand, she felt pity that Chun Zhao didn't die on the island. Tell me what happened just now, Demi said, looking at Chun Zhao. You're asking me what happened? Demi asked, looking at Chun Zhao. You're asking me what happened? I'm asking you why there was such a huge explosion. If I was at the center of the explosion, I'd be a piece of meat now. Chun Zhao was furious. Where are my people? You think your people can survive? Chun Zhao sneered. Like him, they were all at the center of the explosion. Chun Zhao could survive because he was thick-skinned. How could those people survive? How did you survive? Because I'd already left the artificial island. Why did you leave? Of course. The problem's solved. Why should I stay on the island? This incident was obviously done by the mastermind behind the scenes. He was the evidence that wanted to destroy everything. But even Chun Zhao had to admit that he'd lost to such a big deal. Although Lake Pontchartrain was not the center of the city. However, due to its geographical location, the explosion at Lake Pontchartrain was too conspicuous. The people on both sides of the river were not blind. Demi looked at the furious Chun Zhao. She wanted to ask a few more questions. But Chun Zhao was extremely uncooperative. It was impossible for him to ask any more questions. Chun Zhao was in a bad mood. He pulled the driver out of the car and threw him on the ground. Then he drove away. Chun Zhao felt that he had suffered a great loss. He almost lost his life for 20 million US dollars. Even if he did nothing and lay at home for 10 days, he could earn 20 million US dollars. As expected, the military's employment was a scam. No matter what, he would never accept employment from the military again. Chun Zhao returned to the hotel dejectedly. Because of his disheveled appearance, he was stopped by the hotel lobby manager. If they weren't in public, Chun Zhao really wanted to beat him up so badly that even his mother wouldn't recognize him. The next day, knock, 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 come in. Portia and Demi walked into Chun Zhao's room. Chun Zhao was still exercising in the morning. Portia looked like she had nothing left to live for. Mr. Chun, I want to know what happened last night. I don't know anything, Chun Zhao said, annoyed. Don't ask me. Ever since the explosion on the artificial island, Demi had been having a headache. The impact of this incident was too great. Even the White Palace said this morning that it was the work of terrorists. As for which organization it was, the White Palace said that they were still investigating. If the White Palace didn't know who did it, they had to ask someone who did. Demi was undoubtedly the most likely to know. After all, she was in charge of this operation. But honestly, Demi didn't know either. She felt that Chun Zhao might know, or he might have some clues. Even if she couldn't live under the same sky as Chun Zhao, she had to contact him now. She asked about what happened last night. Mr. Chun, this is your duty. Don't forget that you're hired by the military. I only promise to help you solve your problems. When did I promise to answer your questions? Chun Zhao asked casually as he ran on the treadmill. Then how do we know if Mr. Chun did anything? Forget it. Portia, go and order me breakfast. It's the same as yesterday. Portia also knew that Chun Zhao was purposely sending her away. Here's what happened last night. Chun Zhao started to explain the general situation. Of course, he didn't include some information. For example, Chun Zhao had the hard drive of the surveillance and the conflict between him and the commando team. Demi sighed. She could more or less tell whether Chun Zhao was telling the truth or not. Chun Zhao might not have told the whole truth, but most of it was probably true. As for the close cooperation with the commando team that Chun Zhao said, she definitely didn't believe it. The only thing she was sure of was that Chun Zhao really didn't know who the mastermind was. Okay, then I'll leave first. Demi glanced at Chun Zhao one last time, her eyes filled with viciousness. I hope we can work together again. There's definitely no chance. I'll never work with you, Chun Zhao roared. Get out of my room right now. Demi's lips curled into a smile. It was rare to see Chun Zhao lose his composure like this. He's not bad. Unfortunately, why didn't he die in the explosion last night? What a pity. Demi could only entertain herself now, because she knew very well, when she returned, she knew what kind of blame she would face. A while later, Portia returned to Chun Zhao's room. Boss, what exactly happened between you and Miss Demi? It's none of your business, Chun Zhao said in a bad mood. Don't ask what you shouldn't. Knowing too much won't do you any good. Breakfast was here. Chun Zhao treated the food as his enemies. Even Portia could feel that her boss's temper wasn't ordinary today. Chun Zhao thought of Sam and Vikari. He picked up the phone and called Sam. Sam, did you and Vikari find anything last night? No, sir. Fine, come to the hotel, Chun Zhao said unhappily. Chapter 1662. When Sam and Vikari came, they were all dispirited. Seeing Chun Zhao eating, all of his good moods are gone. Then, look at the luxurious suite. Evil capitalism. Portia stood at the side and looked at Sam and Vikari in confusion. These two clearly weren't good people. How did the boss get involved with these people? Portia, give them $1,500 each. After a pause, Chun Zhao said, get them 2 more rooms in the hotel and let them stay there for 10 days. Put all their normal expenses on my tab. Sir, We have a place to stay, Sam said, looking at Chen Zhao. It'll be convenient for you to come over immediately when I find you. Also, go rest and go out at night. Sir, during the day, no need during the day. Night is fine. Also, the pay doesn't change. Sam and Vakari had a place to stay, but it was basically a doghouse. There wasn't anything worth remembering. So, Chen Zhao was willing to help them get a room at the Hilton Hotel. They were overjoyed. Plus, Chen Zhao had covered their expenses in the hotel. Please follow me, Portia said expressionlessly. Please come with me. A while later, Portia returned. Chen Zhao had only spoken a few words with Sam and Vakari. Portia was sure. These two were the hooligans on the streets. She didn't know what Chen Zhao's relationship with them was. However, the two rascals seemed to be working for Chen Zhao. She was also curious about what Chen Zhao would ask them for. Boss, the two of them have been settled. Yes. Boss, what's the plan today? Nothing, I'm tired. I'll rest at the hotel today. Chen Zhao waved his hand. Portia realized that when Chen Zhao didn't move, he was like a dead fish. He just lay on the cushion in front of the floor-to-ceiling window without moving. Chen Zhao didn't go out. Portia thought for a moment and said, Boss, can I ask for leave? I want to go home and take a look. Okay, go. Chen Zhao waved his hand. Chen Zhao hadn't been injured in a long time, but he was really injured last night. He'd been at the center of the explosion, so he'd received a huge impact. One had to know that the explosion last night had blown the entire artificial island away. From Demi, Chen Zhao learned that someone had buried thousands of tons of Tien under the artificial island. And it wasn't a scattered burial. Instead, they were all concentrated together. It also instantly ignited thousands of tons of gunpowder. T of energy was released in an instant. Moreover, because it was underground, the energy generated by the explosion was also compressed. In modern firearms, there was a very important process, and that was explosive compression. The simplest example is bullet and shell casings. In the past, cannons and flintlocks were made by stuffing gunpowder directly into the barrel. In fact, a lot of the potential energy that could be released was wasted. But ever since the development of gunpowder sealing technology, the power of the guns and cannons increased exponentially. This was because the potential energy generated at the moment of the explosion needed to be released. If there wasn't enough space, the potential energy would destroy the container. If the strength of the container exceeded the potential energy would be compressed and explode again to produce an even more powerful potential energy. Fortunately, the explosion took place on an artificial island in Lake Pontchartrain. But the impact of the explosion only brought up the lake water. There were huge waves in the lake, but when the waves reached the shore, the potential energy would be exhausted. Chen Zhao was the one who suffered the most from the explosion. If Chen Zhao could escape the center of the explosion, he wouldn't have to be too far away. He just had to be more than 30 meters away. Although his injuries weren't serious, he wouldn't have been injured. But this also reminded Chen Zhao of something. Even if it wasn't a nuclear weapon, there was still something that could hurt him. Every country had a super bomb. What was a super bomb? It was an explosion that was close to a nuclear bomb, but a super weapon without radiation pollution. So, he had to be low-key when he needed to be. But while Chen Zhao was healing his injuries, Chen Zhao realized that his internal core had grown bigger again. The growth was even more obvious than in the past few days of cultivation. His small world expanded to 450 meters in diameter. The entire hotel was enveloped in Chen Zhao's small world. It didn't seem to be all bad. Chen Zhao muttered in his heart. Of course, he definitely couldn't do it again. Chen Zhao would rather choose a more rugged and troublesome training method. He didn't want to cultivate in such a suicidal way. Chen Zhao took a deep breath. Chen Zhao had never liked his non-elemental body, because he felt that the ability to summon the power of heaven and earth and summon the wind and rain was truly awesome. He was on the same level as them. But this kind of transformation that only allowed him to become bigger was too lame. Most spiritualists of the strengthening element had spells that allowed them to enlarge their bodies. To put it bluntly, it was just Chen Zhao's own body. It would be best if Chun Zhao could have those cool and powerful spells. Of course, controlling the power of heaven and earth was undeniably powerful, both externally and internally. After Chun Zhao closed all the doors in the room, he used Doppelganger, 10,000 spells returned to 1, Dark Assimilation, and Non-Elemental Enlargement again. Chun Zhao realized that the effects of Dark Assimilation seemed to have weakened. Of course, this weakening didn't mean that his strength had decreased, but the amplification ratio had decreased. But this was understandable. In the past, Chun Zhao had a destructive power of 100,000 tons. Now he had a destructive power of 1,000,000 tons. The amplification effect of Dark Assimilation wasn't as obvious as before. Of course, Dark Assimilation could increase Chun Zhao's own mass. It allowed Chun Zhao to release more potential energy every time he punched. The increase from non-elemental enlargement was the greatest. Chun Zhao even suspected that if he continued to grow so much, he would probably create a black hole. One day, when he punched, would he create a black hole? Of course, this kind of thought was just a fantasy in his mind. According to scientific theory, the Earth had to be shrunk to the size of a coin to form a black hole. So, Chun Zhao had to be trillions of times stronger to do it. By then, Chun Zhao would probably be able to shatter space. 1,000,000 tons of power might be strong enough for an individual creature. But compared to nature, it was still insignificant. Whoosh! Suddenly, Chun Zhao sensed Portia outside the door. He immediately removed the spell on him. Portia pushed the door open and saw Chun Zhao standing naked before the floor-to-ceiling window. Ah, pervert! Didn't you learn to knock before entering? Chun Zhao turned his head and glanced at Portia. What are you shouting for? I'm the one at a disadvantage, okay? Chapter 1663. Portia was completely speechless at her boss. She'd only gone out for a short while, and Chun Zhao was already naked when she came back. Did he have a habit of exposing himself? What's wrong? Didn't you ask for leave just now? Boss, can you lend me some money? Didn't you get a month's salary in advance? Portia hesitated, although she had an advance of a month's salary, but she also had a lot of debts. Okay, use my card if you want to buy anything, Chun Zhao said. Thank you, boss. Portia was overjoyed, but she still pretended to be reserved. Chun Zhao waved his hand and chased Portia out. Boss, your calf meat doesn't seem to be well proportioned. You should work on your calf meat. Chun Zhao looked at his calf. It didn't look that way. Anyway, he thought that his body was perfect. But the listener had ulterior motives. Ever since Portia said that, Chun Zhao felt more and more annoyed. It really was a bit uneven. Train some more. At noon, Chun Zhao felt bored. Sam, get Vicari up and take me out to dinner. Sam and Vicari were street thugs, but not everyone wanted such a carefree life. Many people were young and ignorant. When they grew up, they couldn't find decent jobs because of their criminal records. Many people were young and ignorant. When they became adults, they could not find a decent job because of their criminal records. Therefore, they still treasured this opportunity to help Chun Zhao. They didn't know what Chun Zhao wanted to do. They didn't know what he was going to do. They would do whatever Chun Zhao wanted them to do. They would do whatever Chun Zhao wanted them to do. Sam and Vicari finished packing and went to Chun Zhao's room. Let's go. Take me to a special restaurant. Chun Zhao tossed the car keys to Sam. The two became Chun Zhao's drivers. Billy, the Asian you mentioned, came out of the hotel, but he has 2 people with him. Follow them closely. I'll call them over now. Billy was still a student, but he was in the sports club and was quite popular in school. He usually attended all kinds of parties, so he knew many people. This time, Billy asked for help. After a few calls, more than 10 students in school agreed to help. Anyway, they just had to cover their faces and beat someone up. It wasn't a big deal. He had to admit that the American kids were getting bolder and bolder. 10 minutes later, Billy's call came. Lowell, where are you right now? It's on Avenue Nova in the Northern French District. Head north, and you'll arrive at Raunchy Boulevard in 5 minutes. Just in time. We're also nearby. We'll be here soon. Keep up with us. Don't lose sight of us. Don't worry, I won't lose him. However, they were ultimately not professionals. Even Sam and Vakari realized that someone was following them. Moreover, there were quite a few of them. Sam and Vakari instantly tensed up. "Sir, there are people following us, and there are quite a lot of them. What should we do?" In order to see if it was an enemy of Chen Zhao's, or perhaps he was an assassin, Chen Zhao was expressionless. "Lead them to a place with no one." "Sir, I realize that there are a lot of them." "It's fine," Chen Zhao said calmly. "They're just kids." At this time, Vikari, who was sitting on the co-pilot's seat, opened the glove box. There was a pistol inside. "Put the gun away," Chen Zhao said, frowning. "We don't need it." "Fine." Actually, the two didn't want to use a gun either. After all, things would become serious if they did. Sam drove the car to the suburban road. "Okay, get off here," Chen Zhao said. Sam and Vikari were both nervous. Chen Zhao sat at the back of the car, looking very relaxed. Just then, 7 or 8 cars appeared behind them. More than 10 people got off. Sam and Vikari were a bit surprised. They really were a bunch of kids. Of course, the leader was Billy. "Asian, you didn't expect this, right? You're in big trouble now." "Big trouble?" Chen Zhao sneered at Billy. "Little guy, do you know what you're doing? Don't be reasonable. I'm going to beat you up today." "You could try." Chen Zhao shrugged. Billy felt that since he was taller than Chen Zhao, he could definitely beat Chen Zhao. He didn't let the people behind him attack and charged at Chen Zhao. Sam and Vikari wanted to attack, but Chen Zhao waved his hand to stop them. Billy dashed to Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao didn't do anything. Billy raised his arm and punched Chen Zhao's face. Chen Zhao didn't even move his face. "Is that all you have?" Billy felt like he was punching a sheet of iron. But after being mocked by Chen Zhao, the young and hot-blooded Billy felt like his pride had been seriously trampled, especially when he had a bunch of friends behind him. Nothing would embarrass him more than this. Billy landed another right hook on Chen Zhao's face. "It's a bit itchy." Chen Zhao touched his cheek. "You punched me twice. Now it's my turn." "Paw fuck." Billy covered his face. He opened his mouth and a few teeth fell out. I hit him." The university students behind them were already hungry. There were 3 things they had to experience in American universities: picking up girls, partying, and fighting. It wasn't like they hadn't experienced group fights before. One punch, and another punch. Chen Zhao saved himself a lot of trouble. He would just punch whoever came over. All of them were aimed at their chins. In less than a minute, everyone covered their mouths. Everyone's teeth had been broken by Chen Zhao. Sam and Vikari had been defeated by Chen Zhao before. They already knew that Chen Zhao was good at fighting, but they didn't expect Chen Zhao to beat more than 10 people down. Although they were still students, in fact, they were already adults. Their combat power was stronger than Sam and Vikari's. They thought that Chen Zhao would lose, but they didn't expect that they couldn't even touch Chen Zhao. Of course, that wasn't accurate. After all, Chen Zhao had purposely taken 2 punches from Billy. "Can you find more people next time? I wasn't in a good mood today, but I feel much better now." "Thank you." Billy was seething with anger, but the situation was stronger than him. He didn't expect Chen Zhao to be so good at fighting. One had to know that some of the people who came with him were boxers. After mocking Billy for a while, Chen Zhao called Sam and Vikari to leave. "Sir, it's too easy for them to let them go," Sam said. "The leader is Portia's brother." "No wonder." Chapter 1664. In the evening, Chen Zhao returned to the hotel. Then, he saw Portia rush into his room with a dark expression. "Miss Portia, what's wrong? Did you hit my brother?" Portia demanded. "Yes." "Is there a problem? Why did you hit my brother?" "He's a kid." "Looks like you have some misunderstanding about the word kid." Chen Zhao sneered at Portia. "I don't think he told you the truth. Maybe I should have called the police." Attacking and kidnapping a billionaire might make him sober for a few years. Chen Zhao looked up at Portia. Her expression turned into one of panic. "Do you have any more questions?" "Boss, I'm sorry. I misunderstood the truth." "Misunderstood? Okay, don't be so impulsive next time," Chen Zhao said calmly. "Also, you better tell your brother not to do this anymore. Otherwise, I'll tie him to a rocket and send him into space. Trust me, I have enough money to complete this journey. Even if his destination is Mars, I can do it, let alone the atmosphere. That's right, Chen Zhao said calmly. Portia was so scared that she broke out in cold sweat. She'd really been tricked by Billy this time, but she also blamed herself for being too rash. He had actually believed Billy's words because he was biased. Plus, Chen Zhao was her boss. His background was also unknown. Chen Zhao's tone seemed calm, but a few words scared her quite a bit. Anything else? No, nothing. Order dinner for me, Chen Zhao said. Boss, how much? 10 is enough. I ate a little today, so I'm not hungry. 10 servings? You call this not very hungry? I'll be damned if I believe you. A while later, dinner was delivered. While eating, Chen Zhao called and video chatted with his 2 babies. Baby, are you done eating? Yeah. Dad, when are you coming back? Soon. The call wasn't short. It lasted until Jerlin was called to dinner by Fei Lai. Then Fei Lai started kissing Chen Zhao again. After dinner, Portia asked, Boss, are you going out tonight? Chen Zhao had gone out for the past 2 nights, but Portia didn't know what he was going to do at night. In any case, they were all very mysterious. Portia guessed in her heart, was Chen Zhao doing something illegal outside? But she couldn't care less. Portia felt that she was just an ordinary personal assistant. If Chen Zhao's tone was a little harsh, she would give in. In any case, when she was free, Portia would let her imagination run wild. For example, they guessed that Chen Zhao was smuggling firearms or selling drugs. No, I'll stay in the hotel tonight. Is there anything you need me to do? No, I'll call you if I need anything. Go back to your room. Portia felt that Chen Zhao was going to start running naked again. That was indeed the case in a suite of the same hotel. There was a woman stomping her foot in anger. Damn it, that feeling is coming again. Feline had been studying and practicing magic in the hotel for the past 2 days, but he didn't know what was going on today. Elemental exhaustion had occurred several times in the vicinity. Of course, elemental exhaustion only lasted for a dozen or so seconds. However, those 10 seconds had given Fu Lin a lot of trouble. The spell she'd been practicing recently was continuous and couldn't be interrupted. But because of the elemental exhaustion, the spell was interrupted for no reason. It would be fine if it was only once or twice. But it started happening in the morning and happened more than a dozen times. The entire process took about an hour. Then it went back to normal. But at night, the same thing happened again. Even if it wasn't elemental magic, many spells still needed magic to connect with the elements in the outside world. If it was an elemental vacuum, many spells would fail. Feline tried again, but not long after, the elemental exhaustion happened again. Feline didn't understand what was going on either. Could it be that someone was purposely causing this phenomenon of elemental depletion? Impossible. He'd never heard of anyone who could cause this kind of elemental exhaustion. It was like creating an absolute vacuum in a space. With the current technology, it was impossible to do so. If it was a small space in a lab, it could be done, but it couldn't be done in a large space. Not to mention an open space like this. I want to see who's behind this. As he spoke, Feline's eyes suddenly turned golden. Feline started to look around. The golden eyes were called spiritual vision. They could see the source of mana. As long as the mana source was within a certain range, it could be sensed. Suddenly, Feline saw a giant on the 20th floor. Chen Zhao was surprised. Someone was observing him. Shadow vision also sensed Feline's presence. The two sensed each other at the same time and realized that the other had already noticed them. There was actually another spiritualist in the building. The spiritualist seemed to live on the same floor as Portia. Chen Zhao put away his spell, changed his clothes, and went downstairs. Knock, knock. Chen Zhao knocked on the door. Feline opened the door and studied him. Please come in, sir. Chen Zhao walked in. Feline was still studying him. Sir, I'm Feline. May I ask how I should address you? My surname is Chun. Mr. Chun, I'm curious. How did you sense me? Feline asked. The moment Feline saw Chen Zhao sensed that he was being watched. I have a special ability. I can sense any line of sight that is focused on me. I see. Feline didn't continue asking. Mr. Chun, Are you a local spiritualist in New Orleans? No, you're a local. I'm not either. I have business in New Orleans. Feline didn't elaborate. Chun Zhao was a bit disappointed, but since Feline was staying in a hotel, he probably wasn't a local spiritualist. He'd thought that he'd found the organization, but it wasn't a local spiritualist. Can I ask why you came to New Orleans? Chun Zhao asked. Feline looked up at Chun Zhao. Mr. Chun, do you have any objections? I don't have any objections, Chun Zhao said. I want to find the White Spear Society in New Orleans, but I can't find anyone. Chun Zhao told Feline his goal mainly because he wanted Feline to know a local spiritualist. It would be best if he was from the White Spear Society. That would save him a lot of trouble. You're also here for the White Spear Society. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.